Tonight, we're exploring the twisted ambitions of Team Galactic. This topic gives us a lot to trace through, but I'll keep the delivery calm enough for a quiet night. Thank you to those of you who've been joining us consistently. If you're falling asleep with us tonight, let me know in the comments how many nights in a row you've been here. And if this is your first night, just comment night 1. Now back to the video. In Jubilife City, Team Galactic first appears, not as an army preparing to challenge the gods, but as a small group of uniformed troublemakers surrounding Professor Rowan and his assistant. They want research on Pokémon evolution. It is an oddly ordinary demand for an organization that will eventually stand at the summit of Mount Coronet and attempt to rewrite existence itself. That quiet mismatch defines Team Galactic. Its grunts speak about energy, scientific progress, and a better future. Their public image is that of a research group seeking clean sources of power, including the strange energy released through Pokémon evolution. To many recruits, the work seems practical. Steal a little data, gather a little power, capture useful Pokémon, follow orders from people who appear to know more than you do. Even the commanders are only given fragments of the truth. Mars, with her imposing perugly, oversees the theft of energy at Valley Windworks. Jupiter directs the theft of Pokémon in Eterna City, guarded by her Skuntank. Saturn, whose partner is a Toxicroak, is perhaps the most thoughtful of the three. He believes in Team Galactic's future, yet he does not fully understand what Cyrus intends to do with the world they are helping him build. Cyrus keeps that purpose carefully hidden, because it is not a plan for Sinnoh. It is not even a plan for power over the Pokémon world. Cyrus wishes to erase the universe and construct another in its place. To him, life is flawed because it possesses spirit. In Sinnoh's oldest language of myth, spirit is divided into knowledge, emotion, and will. These are not merely qualities people happen to have. They are fundamental forces, reflected in the Lake Guardians, Uxie, Mesprit, and Azelf. Uxie embodies knowledge, Mesprit embodies emotion, Azelf embodies will. Where most people might see these three qualities as the reason life has meaning, Cyrus sees them as defects. Emotion brings pain, will brings conflict. Knowledge can be incomplete, and therefore uncertain. He dreams of a world stripped of all three, a perfectly ordered reality, without the messy inner lives that make people and Pokémon unpredictable. It is a cold philosophy, but not a simple one. Cyrus is not motivated by greed in the usual sense. He does not want a kingdom, riches, or public admiration. He wants to become the sole guiding presence in a new universe, one ruled by pure logic. In his mind, destroying everything is not cruelty, it is correction. His own history gives that belief a faintly lonely shape. Cyrus was brilliant from an early age, but he preferred machines to people. In Sunnyshore's City, he was taught by an elderly woman who recognized his intelligence, though not necessarily the distance he kept from everyone around him. He grew into a man who could understand ancient legends and advanced technology, while remaining almost entirely unmoved by the feelings of others. That knowledge led him to a name with a much gentler past. Centuries before Team Galactic appeared in Sinnoh, the Hisui region had known the Galaxy Team, a group devoted to exploration, settlement, and mutual survival. Cyrus became a guardian of lore, connected to that earlier organization. Then he took its hopeful name and reshaped it into the banner of a conspiracy. The clearest expression of that conspiracy is the Red Chain. Created through the work of the scientist Charon, the chain is fashioned from crystals taken from the Lake Guardians after their capture. It is not simply a device for containing legendary Pokémon. A Pokéball restrains a Pokémon, but the Red Chain is meant to bind a god while leaving its immense power available for someone else to command. And above Sinnoh, at Spear Pillar, time and space wait within reach. In Jubilife City, Team Galactic first appears not as an army preparing to challenge the gods, but as a small group of uniformed troublemakers surrounding Professor Rowan and his assistant. They want research on Pokémon evolution. It is an oddly ordinary demand for an organization that will eventually stand at the summit of Mount Coronet and attempt to rewrite existence itself. That quiet mismatch defines Team Galactic. Sinnoh's newest criminal organization presents itself as a scientific movement devoted to energy and progress. Its grunts wear matching uniforms, speak in rehearsed slogans, and seem to know less than they claim. To walk into a Team Galactic building is to step into a world of conflicting signals. The walls are sleek, modern, polished. Posters advertise a future of clean, limitless energy, speaking of a new world on the horizon. The grunts themselves speak in terms of scientific advancement and a better tomorrow, but their actions betray a much simpler reality. They steal Pokémon from trainers in the streets of Jubilife. They seize an entire industrial facility at Windworks, throwing workers out into the cold. They threaten scientists in Eterna City for their research data. The polished image, the rehearsed slogans about discipline and progress, is a thin veneer over what is essentially a highly organized theft ring. At least, that is how it appears to the grunts. They are told they are building a better future. They are given targets, not reasons. The planet-shaped badges on their chests mean loyalty to the cause, but they have no idea what the cause truly demands. To them, it is a job, a mission, an opportunity to be part of something that seems to be growing larger every day. Even the commanders are only given fragments of the truth. Mars, with her imposing perugly, oversees the theft of energy at Windworks. She is direct, aggressive, and efficient. Jupiter directs the theft of Pokémon in Eterna City, guarded by her Skuntank. Her presence is heavy, watchful, and she keeps a tight hold on the operations in the city. Saturn, whose partner is a Toxicroak, is perhaps the most thoughtful of the three. He believes in Team Galactic's future, with a sincerity that the others seem to lack. He follows orders because he trusts the vision. Yet he does not fully understand what Cyrus intends to do with the world they are helping him build. They know about the Red Chain. They know about the Lake Guardians. They know the targets and the strategy. But they do not know what Cyrus intends to do with the power he seeks. They do not understand that the world they are fighting for is a world that will erase them along with everything else. The truth of Cyrus's ambition is a burden he carries alone. Behind the public language of clean power lies a project aimed at nothing less than the end of reality. Cyrus keeps that purpose carefully hidden because it is not a plan for Sinnoh. It is not even a plan for power over the Pokémon world. Cyrus wishes to erase the universe and construct another in its place. To him, life is flawed because it possesses spirit. In Sinnoh's oldest language of myth, spirit is divided into knowledge, emotion, and will. These are not merely qualities people happen to have. They are fundamental forces, reflected in the Lake Guardians Uxie, Mesprit, and Azelf. Uxie embodies knowledge, Mesprit embodies emotion, Azelf embodies will. Where most people might see these three qualities as the reason life has meaning, Cyrus sees them as defects. Emotion brings pain, will brings conflict. Knowledge is never complete, and therefore always uncertain. He dreams of a world stripped of all three, a perfectly ordered reality, without the messy inner lives that make people and Pokémon unpredictable. A world without contradiction, a world without doubt. At the center stands Cyrus, a man who believes the universe itself was built incorrectly. He is not motivated by greed in the usual sense. He does not want a kingdom, riches, or public admiration. He wants to become the sole guiding presence in a new universe, one ruled by pure logic. In his mind, destroying everything is not cruelty. It is correction. It is the only way to fix what he sees as the fundamental error of existence. He looked at the world and saw nothing but incompleteness. Every creature, every person, was driven by forces they could not control. Emotion, will, knowledge. These were not gifts. They were flaws in the design. For Cyrus, these were not the qualities that gave life meaning. They were bugs in the system. He did not hate people. He hated the world that created them, and because it was built incorrectly, it needed to be unmade. The only logical solution was to press the reset button on reality itself and start over, this time with a world that he could design without error. His own history gives that belief a faintly lonely shape. Cyrus was brilliant from an early age, but he preferred machines to people. In Sunnyshore's City, beneath the metal walkways that powered the city with solar energy, he was a solitary child. An old woman was hired to tutor him. She found a boy who was brilliant beyond his years, but who had no interest in people. He studied ancient texts and modern machinery with equal focus, finding in both a clarity that human interaction lacked. Machines followed rules. Myths had consistent internal logic. People were messy, unpredictable, and disappointing. He never outgrew this preference. He simply found a way to channel it into a workable plan. That knowledge led him to a name with a much gentler past. Centuries before Team Galactic appeared in Sinnoh, the Hisui region had known the Galaxy Team, a group devoted to exploration, settlement, and mutual survival. They built settlements, mapped the wilderness, and helped people coexist with Pokémon. Cyrus became a guardian of lore, connected to that earlier organization. He studied their history, their methods, their symbolism. Then he took its hopeful name, a word that conjured images of stars and exploration, and reshaped it into the banner of a conspiracy. He saw the name not as a promise of discovery, but as a title declaring his ambition to control the cosmos. The clearest expression of that conspiracy is the red chain. To create it, Cyrus needed to capture the very embodiments of spirit. Team Galactic raided the 3 lakes of Sinnoh. They captured Uxie at Lake Acuity, Mesprit at Lake Verity, and Azulf at Lake Valor. From these beings of pure knowledge, emotion, and will, the scientist Charon extracted crystals. These crystals form the red chain. It is not simply a device for containing legendary Pokémon. A Pokéball restrains a Pokémon, but the red chain is meant to bind a god while leaving its immense power available for someone else to command. It is a shackle designed not just for control, but for exploitation. It is a leash for forces that govern time and space. With the red chain complete, Cyrus ascended the highest peak in Sinnoh. He stood at the Spear Pillar, the closest point in the known world to the being that created the region itself. Winds howled around the ruins. The sky bent in ways that defied explanation. And above Sinnoh, at Spear Pillar, time and space wait within reach. Cyrus was not a conqueror. He was not a king. He was something far more unusual, a philosopher who had looked at the world, studied it carefully, and found it fundamentally broken. Where other villainous leaders in Pokémon history sought land, or power, or wealth, Cyrus sought something stranger. He wanted to erase existence itself and build a new one from rubble. This is the man who rejected the world. In our previous chapter, we saw how Team Galactic presents itself to the people of Sinnoh as a scientific organization devoted to progress. Their grunts wear crisp uniforms with the symbol of a planet. They speak in rehearsed slogans about energy and evolution. They seem, for the most part, to believe what they have been told. But the organization is built on a lie, and that lie begins with its leader. The grunts do not know what Cyrus truly intends. The commanders themselves do not know. Only one man understands the full scope of what is about to happen, and he has been planning it for years. Cyrus was not born a criminal. He was born, by all accounts, a prodigy. A brilliant child growing up in Sunnyshore's City, a coastal town in eastern Sinnoh, known for its solar panels and its lighthouse. But even as a child, Cyrus felt apart from others. He did not understand the messiness of human emotion, the chaos of personal desire, the unpredictability of free will. Where others found meaning in connection, Cyrus found only noise. Where others found warmth in relationships, he found weakness and disorder. He preferred machines because machines were logical. They followed their programming. They did not lie. They did not act out of irrational impulse. They could be perfected. He was tutored by an elderly woman in Sinnoh, who recognized his intelligence and entrusted him with knowledge of Sinnoh's oldest legends. She told him stories of the Galaxy Team, a benevolent guild that had explored the Hisui region centuries ago, long before Sinnoh had its modern name. She taught him about the creation myths of this land, the beings who shaped time and space, the lake spirits who governed the aspects of the soul. But Cyrus did not receive these stories the way she intended. He did not hear them as history or as wisdom. He heard them as instructions, as tools, as a way to undo what he saw as the fundamental mistake of existence. The mistake, in his view, was spirit itself. Not ghosts or spectres, but the three aspects of the soul that ancient Sinnoh philosophy identified: knowledge, emotion, and will. These three forces, represented by the legendary Pokémon Uxie, Mesprit, and Azulf, were what made beings incomplete. Knowledge without perfect logic led to error. Emotion without control led to suffering. Will without direction led to chaos. Every person, every Pokémon, every living thing was flawed because of these three gifts. And Cyrus believed he could fix it. He saw human emotion, personal desire, and free will not as the things that make life worth living, but as bugs in a broken system. He looked at love and saw attachment that led to pain. He looked at ambition and saw conflict. He looked at hope and saw a delusion. The only cure, as far as he could determine, was to erase the conditions that allow imperfection to exist in the first place. Not to rule Sinnoh, not to conquer, but to delete the very framework of reality and start from scratch, using the power of the Pokémon who govern time and space. This is what separates Cyrus from every villain who came before him. Team Rocket wanted money and power. Aqua and Magma wanted to expand the land or the sea. They were motivated by desires that were recognizably human, even if their methods were extreme. But Cyrus was motivated by a kind of philosophical disgust. He looked at the world and saw a failed experiment. He did not want to improve it. He did not want to reform it. He wanted to end it and build a new universe in its place, one where he would be the sole deity, and where nothing like spirit would ever be allowed to corrupt creation again. His ambition is not to rule Sinnoh, but to erase the conditions that allow imperfection to exist. The public face of Team Galactic was designed to mask this. Cyrus knew that if he simply announced his true intentions, he would be stopped before he could begin. So he built an organization with a plausible cover story: clean energy research, technological innovation, evolution energy. These were real enough to recruit genuine believers, useful enough to attract funding and talent, and vague enough to hide what was really happening. The grunts who joined Team Galactic thought they were working toward a better future for Sinnoh. They did not know they were helping to assemble the machinery of cosmic destruction. Cyrus himself rarely appeared in public. He stayed in his headquarters in Veilstone City, a massive building shaped like a metallic planet, surrounded by the comings and goings of his subordinates. He gave speeches, but they were clinical, detached. He did not inspire loyalty through charisma or passion. He inspired it through certainty. He spoke as if he had already seen the truth, and everyone else was still fumbling in the dark. There was no room for debate in his worldview. There was only the plan. His commanders, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, each believed they were serving the organization's stated goals. Mars was aggressive and driven, eager to prove herself. Jupiter was cold and efficient, focused on results. Saturn was thoughtful, perhaps the most intelligent of the three, and the one who would later question everything. But none of them knew what Cyrus intended to do at the Spear Pillar. None of them knew that the red chain they helped him build was not meant to control a Pokémon for energy or profit, but to shackle a god and rewrite reality. The red chain itself was a remarkable piece of technology, created by the team's lead scientist, Charon. It was designed to bind the legendary Pokémon without limiting their power. Unlike a Pokéball, which restrains and contains, the red chain was more like a leash for a force of nature. It would allow Cyrus to command Dialga or Palkia at full strength, bending time or space to his will. But to create it, he needed crystals from the three lake spirits, Uxie, Mesprit, and Azalelf. He had to capture knowledge, emotion, and will themselves and extract from them the raw material of his new order. The irony is almost too perfect. The man who despised spirit more than anything had to rely on the very embodiment of spirit to achieve his goal. He could not erase the three aspects of the soul without first imprisoning them. He could not remake the universe without first stealing from the guardians who kept it balanced. This is where the story of Team Galactic becomes something more than a simple villain plot. It becomes a tragedy of philosophy taken to its most extreme conclusion. Cyrus was not a madman in the traditional sense. He was not driven by greed or revenge, or even a desire for power over others. He was driven by a cold, logical certainty that the world was wrong, and that he was the only one capable of correcting it. He saw himself not as a destroyer, but as a creator, a god whose first act would be to erase everything that came before. And yet there is something almost pitiful about him. He grew up in Sunnyshaw City, surrounded by the light of the lighthouse and the sound of the sea, and he could not find a single reason to love any of it. He was taught the oldest stories of his region, the tales of the Galaxy team and the birth of Sinnoh, and he could not see the wonder in them, only the flaws. He was given knowledge, and it poisoned him. He was given emotion, and he rejected it. He was given will, and he turned it toward annihilation. He is the darkest reflection of what Sinnoh represents. This region is defined by its connection to mythology and creation, to the origins of the Pokémon world itself. And Cyrus, the one person who understood that mythology better than almost anyone, decided that the creation was a mistake, and that he could do better. As we begin to see the shape of his plan, we also begin to see the cracks in his organization. The grunts who follow him do not share his vision. The commanders who serve him do not understand his true goal. The scientist who builds his weapons, Charon, is loyal only to himself. And out in the world, a young trainer from Twinleaf Town is about to stumble into events far beyond what anyone expected. But before any of that can unfold, Cyrus must first set the pieces in motion by stealing what he needs from the very heart of Sinnoh itself. This understanding of spirit, the clinical hatred for knowledge, emotion, and will that defined Cyrus's entire worldview, did not arrive fully formed in his adulthood. It was nurtured slowly by a very specific kind of power, the power of history, the power of stories written in stone and told by old voices. To understand the man at the top of Team Galactic, you have to look past the sharp uniform and the gleaming headquarters in Veilstone City. You have to look at the role he played, long before the world knew his name. Cyrus was a guardian, a keeper of secrets that the modern world of Sinnoh had long forgotten. He was the curator of an ancient flame. The name Team Galactic carries echoes of that flame, reaching all the way back to Sinnoh's distant past and the old Hisui region. Centuries before Cyrus reached for the stars, the Galaxy team represented something entirely grounded. They were explorers, builders, and survivors, living in an unfamiliar and hostile land. Hisui was a world of raw, untamed nature, where humanity clung to fragile outposts built against the endless wilds. The Galaxy Expedition Team was the glue that held these first settlements together. They surveyed the deep forests, catalogued the dangerous Pokémon, and forged the partnerships necessary to survive the brutal winters and territorial storms. The name Galaxy, in its most ancient form, meant unity. It meant working together to understand a world that did not want human hands upon it. It was the very opposite of the sterile, isolated control that Cyrus would eventually seek to impose. This is the crucial piece of the puzzle, the heart of his twisted ambition. Cyrus becomes a guardian of this ancient law, directly connected to that earlier organization. We learn in Pokémon Legends, Arceus, that the historical records of the Galaxy team, the detailed drawings of the creation Pokémon, the oral myths of the late Guardians, all of this knowledge was carefully passed down through a lineage of keepers. It was entrusted to Cyrus. He was the curator of Sinnoh's divine history. He lived among these texts, and in the quiet of that archive, alone with the stories of gods and the mortals who first encountered them, his philosophy crystallized. He studied the anatomy of creation. He learned that spirit was not a single thing, but a tripartite aspect of the soul: knowledge, emotion, will. And he hated them. He hated them because they were the source of incompleteness. A being with knowledge seeks more. A being with emotion is torn between choices. A being with will pursues its own selfish path. He saw the Galaxy team not as a triumph of human spirit, but as a testament to humanity's fundamental weakness. They needed to band together because they were individually incomplete. They needed to partner with Pokémon because they were physically and spiritually weak. He saw the myth of the creation Pokémon not as a sacred truth to be worshipped, but as a logical system, a piece of machinery that could be understood and hijacked. He takes a name once associated with discovery and survival and transforms it into a symbol of absolute cosmic control. Team Galactic is his dark mirror of the past, a deliberate perversion of history. The moment he chose the name, he was declaring war on the very concept of the original organization. The red letter G, the stark white and blue uniforms, the strict hierarchy enforced by the commanders, it is all an attempt to impose perfect order on the perceived chaos of the past. The old Galaxy team was messy. It had different factions, different ideas, different ways of doing things. Cyrus's Galactic is pure, shiny, and sterile. It is the past scrubbed clean of every human flaw. Every grunt who repeats the company line without knowing the true goal, every commander who follows orders without question, is just a cog in the perfect machine Cyrus is building. The name Galactic no longer means looking outward at the night sky with wonder and a sense of community. It means looking outward with the cold intent to own. This ancient lore was not just abstract philosophy for Cyrus, it was a practical technical manual. He learned exactly where the Lake Trio resided, in the hidden caves of Sinnoh. He understood their nature as the source of the very spirit he despised. He studied the oldest myths and deduced the existence of the Red Chain, a device mentioned in passing in the ancient texts that could bind the will of even the lords of time and space themselves. The texts he guarded gave him the map, the lakes, the caves, the connection between the three lesser beings and the greater deities at Spear Pillar. His plan was never a gamble born of desperation. It was a surgical strike against reality itself, planned meticulously over years of study in the quiet, dusty halls of history. He was the last keeper of the Covenant, and he broke it. He took the trust of history and turned it into a plot for destruction. The attack on the Three Lakes, the capture of Uxie, Mesprit and Azelf, was the first concrete step in this cosmic surgery. It was the moment the ancient knowledge became a weapon. The Red Chain, forged from the captured aspects of knowledge, emotion and will, was the ultimate perversion of the Galaxy team's legacy. The old team was defined by what it built together. The new team is defined by what it takes. The chain was built to enslave, forged in the mind of a man who looked at the history of his own region, saw the beautiful struggle for survival, and decided the storytellers got the ending wrong. He decided he would write a new ending. The Red Chain was not just a tool for control, it was a philosophical argument made physical. It was his proof that spirit could be drained, refined, and turned against itself. That the love of a Pokémon for its trainer, the will to live, the search for truth, were all just exploitable resources in the grand machine of existence. At Spear Pillar, that new ending was meant to be written. The Lords of Time and Space would answer his call, and the Keeper of the Ancient Law would finally demand they submit to his perfect, silent order. a universe without spirit, without struggle, without the messy complications of life. Just a pure, ceaseless, logical system running forever in the dark. This is the weight of the name Galactic. It carries the ghost of a hopeful past, a past where the same letters on a uniform meant discovery, safety, and a new home. Cyrus looked at that history and saw only its flaws. He took the legacy of the Galaxy team, the very symbol of human cooperation, and turned it into a cage. A cage for Pokémon, a cage for his commanders, a cage for Sinnoh, and ultimately a cage for the entire universe. The clockwork universe he envisioned was perfectly logical. It had no room for the messy, unpredictable, beautiful will of life. And it is that very will, the lingering spirit of the Lake Trio and the trainer Hanham stands in their defense, that refuses to be silenced. The past he rejected refuses to stay buried. The ghost of the Galaxy team, the spirit of cooperation and discovery, lives on in the very act of the journey against him. From that distant, collaborative past, we arrive at a single point in history. The name Team Galactic is inseparable from the story of the man who discovered its ancient meaning and twisted it into something else entirely. But the seeds of that corruption were planted long before the organization had a name. They were planted in the childhood of a boy who found the world fundamentally flawed. Sunnyshore's City, built on a dramatic bay with streets gleaming from the light of 1,000 solar panels. A city defined by its relationship with energy, with mechanics, with predictable systems. It was here that Cyrus grew up brilliant, isolated, and more comfortable with machines than with people. He watched the gears of the city turn with perfect regularity. He saw how light could be captured, stored, and directed without complaint. These were not just facts to him, they were parables. The sun gave its energy without will. The machines transferred it without emotion. There was a purity in this transaction, a simplicity that the messy world of living things could never replicate. His brilliance was evident from the earliest age. He asked questions that cut straight to the core of things, but his questions were never followed by wonder. They were followed by a cold, satisfied silence when the answer was given. He was not learning to connect with the world. He was learning to master it. While other children played, Cyrus observed. He studied the mechanisms of the city, the predictable path of the sunlight, the circuits that powered the streets. He found comfort in what he could take apart and put back together. Machines were clean. They were logical. They did not lie. They simply worked, or they didn't. And the fault could always be traced, understood, and corrected. People were not like that. They were controlled by strange, invisible forces that defied reason. They acted against their own best interests. They felt things they could not explain. To the young Cyrus, this was not a mystery to be explored. It was a flaw to be catalogued. Recognizing his academic gifts, an elderly tutor was brought to him in Sunnyshore's City. She was patient, experienced, armed with a lifetime of teaching methods. She had seen the spark of genius before, and she knew it needed careful tending. She saw the sharpness of his mind, the speed with which he grasped complex theories, the hunger for answers that drove him forward. She tried to fan that spark into a flame. She introduced him to the great works of Sinnoh's past. She showed him the beauty of the myths, deep stories full of emotion and will and sacrifice. She hoped to awaken something in him. He listened. He memorized the myths. He could recite them with perfect fidelity, but he had no feeling for them. He treated the story of the Lake Guardians as a data point. He saw Uxie, Mesprit, and Azelf not as deities of the soul, but as elements of a system. They represented knowledge, emotion, and will, and he decided very early on that the system was flawed. He saw the three parts of the spirit not as a gift, but as an error in the design. She saw the potential. She recognized his intellect, but she could not reach the coldness beneath his perfect answers. He understood her lessons perfectly and discarded the soul of them. He demanded more facts, more systems, more discipline. He learned knowledge without companionship. He accepted discipline, but rejected tenderness. These were not tools for connection to him. They were components in a system he was assembling within himself. His emotional world was a desert, and he preferred it that way. Every attempt to draw him out only reinforced his walls. The tutor was there to guide him, to nurture his gifts. She must have felt a profound sense of unease. She saw a boy who could solve problems of immense complexity, who could grasp theories that escaped students years older than him. His recall was perfect. His logic was flawless, but his heart was utterly absent. He gave her answers that were always correct, delivered without warmth, without the curiosity that usually drives a young mind. This is the exact point where his personal preference hardens into philosophy. It is the birthplace of his later hatred of spirit. It begins as a quiet, deeply personal refusal to accept the messy emotional weight of the world. Every act of unthinking kindness, every flicker of joy he could not quantify, every display of will that contradicted logic chipped away at his tolerance. He looked at the people around him and saw beings ruled by glitches. He looked at Pokémon and saw with the same cold, dismissive eye. They were loyal without reason. They bonded without calculation. They were proof that the universe was broken. He hated spirit not because it was weak. He hated it because it was unpredictable. It could not be controlled. It could not be relied upon. It introduced variables into an equation that should be perfect. Every act of kindness that defied self-interest, every moment of loyalty that could not be rationally explained, every flicker of will that refused to accept defeat, were to him not the miracles of life. They were the glitches in the machine. He began to imagine a world without these variables, a world of pure substance, a world where cause and effect reigned supreme, a world without the flaw of spirit. He carried this cold certainty into every interaction. The elderly tutor in Sunshore City watched a wall being built brick by brick. She recognized his intellect. She gave him the tools of knowledge. But she could never give him the one thing he refused to take: connection. He learned knowledge without companionship and discipline without tenderness. And from this detached perspective, he looked at the very fabric of reality and decided it was a failure. The brilliant, isolated child of Sunnyshore's City did not just grow up to reject the world. He grew up to plan its replacement. This cold, calculated animosity toward existence itself required a vessel. Cyrus did not plan to erase the world with his own hands. He needed power. He needed resources. He needed the gathered knowledge of the ancient myths. He needed an organization, a system of believers, even if their belief was built on a convenient half-truth. The story of Team Galactic now moves from the mind of one man to the machine he built to serve his will. The external war against Sinnoh is merely the projection of an internal war against the spirit itself. And the boy who could not accept the flaw in the world finally had the tools to try and erase it entirely. That isolation wasn't just a personal failing in his eyes. It was the only logical response to an illogical world. And from that cold logic, he built a philosophy that stood in direct opposition to the very foundation of Sinnoh's beliefs. Sinnoh mythology describes spirit as three essential forces: knowledge, emotion, and willpower. These are embodied by three legendary Pokémon who dwell in the three lakes of the region. Uxie embodies knowledge, Mesprit embodies emotion, and Azelf embodies will. To most people, these qualities make life meaningful and complete. They are the ingredients of a functioning soul. You gain knowledge, you feel emotion, you exercise will. Together, they create what we call a person. But to Cyrus, these qualities are not strengths. To Cyrus, they are proof that all living beings are divided, unstable, and fundamentally unfinished. He looked at this sacred structure and saw a design flaw. Emotion clouds judgment. Knowledge creates doubt. Willpower leads to conflict. He didn't want a soul. He wanted a machine. A perfect closed system with no input from messy, unpredictable forces. The very idea that the universe's creators would build consciousness out of such fragile components disgusted him. Spirit, he reasoned, was the source of all suffering. If he was going to remake reality, he had to eliminate the root cause. The three pillars of spirit had to be removed from the equation entirely. This is why the Lake Trio are his primary targets. not just to power some device, but to prove a point, to drain the lakes of their guardians. When his commanders move on the lakes, they aren't just capturing Pokémon, they are systematically shutting down the operating system of the current flawed reality. Lake Acuity, Lake Verity, Lake Valor. On the surface, they are quiet bodies of water, but in the history of Sinnoh, they are the anchors of consciousness itself. Ancient texts describe them as havens for the three beings born from the original spirit. They are the fonts from which all sentient life drinks. Cyrus saw these empty fonts and felt relief. The stillness he found in those caves was not emptiness, it was peace, it was order. The noise of spirit had been silenced. Capturing them was the act of subtraction. Cyrus had removed the elements he despised from the equation, but removal is never the final step. Destruction and creation are two sides of the same coin. To truly erase this flawed universe, he had to forge a tool capable of reaching beyond the physical world, a tool that could bind not just Pokémon, but the very architects of time and space. With the essences of the late Guardians in his grasp, he finally had the keystone for that device. The theory was complete. All that remained was the application. At Spear Pillar, that application takes the form of the red chain, forged from the power extracted from Uxie, Mesprit and Azelf. The chain is more than a weapon of control. It is Cyrus's declaration that spirit can be reduced to a resource. Knowledge, emotion and willpower are stripped of their sacred meaning, processed through machinery, and turned into shackles. The guardians of the lakes become the instruments of their own world's destruction. And the target of those shackles is not ordinary. Dialga and Palkia are the rulers of time and space. In Sinnoh's oldest stories, they are not simply powerful creatures living within reality. They are the forces that make reality possible. Dialga governs the movement of time, the endless march from past to future. Palkia governs space, the distance between all things, the shape of the world itself. To command either one would be unimaginable. To command both would mean holding the framework of existence in your hands. That is what Cyrus wants. Not a throne, not wealth, not even revenge against the people who ignored him. He wants authorship. He wants to take the universe apart its seams and write a new version that cannot reject him, disappoint him, or surprise him. In his ideal world, there is no need for friendship because there is no loneliness. There is no pain because there is no emotion. There is no conflict because nobody possesses the will to oppose anyone else. But that vision contains a contradiction Cyrus never fully confronts. He condemns emotion, yet his entire plan is fueled by disgust. He rejects willpower, yet his ambition is one of the strongest acts of will in the entire series. He dismisses human connection as meaningless, yet he builds an organization whose members follow his command and risk everything for his dream. Cyrus insists he has transcended the weaknesses of spirit, but every step he takes proves that he is still bound by them. The red chain does work, at least for a moment. The legendary beings answer the call. At the summit of Mount Coronet, the sky tears open. The world begins to warp. Time and space bend under the pressure of a man trying to force the gods into obedience. This is the closest Cyrus ever comes to victory. His perfect world is no longer an abstract philosophy. It is forming in front of him, and yet the universe does not yield as cleanly as he expects. In the distortion created by his ambition, another force emerges. Giratina, the ruler of the Distortion World, represents everything Cyrus tried to deny. It is the inverse of his ordered universe, unstable, strange, and impossible to control through simple logic. Cyrus believed reality could be purified by removing its imperfections. Giratina reveals that chaos is not an error outside creation. It is part of creation itself. When his plan collapses, Cyrus is left with the one outcome he could never accept: failure. Even then, he does not beg for forgiveness or abandon his beliefs. He retreats further into them. That is what makes him so unsettling. Cyrus is not redeemed by defeat. He is not suddenly cured by seeing the damage he caused. He remains convinced that the world is broken. The only question is, whether he can ever find another way to rebuild it. 3 forces of spirit, knowledge, emotion, and will. 3 beings who embody them. Uxie, Mesprit, Azelf. In Sinor's mythology, these are the foundations of every conscious mind, the very things that make a soul complete. And if you believed, truly believed, that these forces were not completeness, but incompleteness, how would you move through the world? You would wear a mask. You would hide your true purpose behind a cause everyone could believe in. This is the foundation of the clean energy illusion. Team Galactic publicly advertises research into new energy sources for the future of Sinnoh. Their billboards line the streets of Jubilife City. Their headquarters dominates the skyline of Veilstone. They speak of a tomorrow where power is clean, sustainable, and limitless. It is a message designed for public consumption. It is a story that makes sense. Their members investigate Pokémon evolution, electrical power, and the mysterious phenomena of the region. The energy released when a Pokémon transforms, the spark of change itself, is measured in their labs. The electrical output of the Valley Windworks is studied and commandeered. The strange magnetic fields around Mount Coronet are mapped. The secrets of the old chateau are catalogued. To the outside observer, this is ambitious science. The team is unlocking the fundamental mechanics of the Sinnoh region. They are visionaries. The language of innovation gives the organization an air of legitimacy. Commander Mars speaks of efficiency and results. Commander Jupiter speaks of natural order and the next step in evolution. Commander Saturn speaks of a future free from hardship and scarcity. Cyrus, when he addresses the full assembly, speaks of perfection. They do not use the words destruction, control, or erasure. They use the words progress, energy, and creation. The white laboratory coats, the gleaming research stations, the corporate branding, it all projects a seriousness that disarms the public and the authorities. Professor Rowan suspects something is wrong, but he is a single voice against a chorus of optimism. The police in Jubilife see a corporation before they see a cult, but every layer of this facade serves a deeper function. Each energy project quietly supplies resources, data, and influence for Cyrus's hidden design. The electricity from the Windworks funds the construction of specialized equipment. The research on evolutionary energy provides a theoretical model for harnessing the raw essence of spirit. The influence gained through local investments opens doors and silences questions. The Grunts believe they are building a better Sinnoh. The commanders believe they are serving a grand scientific purpose. But the true architecture of the plan is invisible to them. It exists only in the mind of one man. Cyrus watches from his office in Veilstone. He sees the reports, the energy flow charts, the containment schematics. He is not interested in lighting the cities. He is interested in building a key, the red chain, a device capable of shackling the masters of time and space. But a chain forged from earthly metal cannot hold a god. It needs a different kind of energy. It needs the essence of spirit itself. And so the research must evolve. The clean energy projects were never an end. They were a means of building infrastructure, a network of influence, a treasury of data. The next phase demands a different kind of acquisition. The lakes of Sinnoh, Verity, Valor, and Acuity hold the true power, the guardians of knowledge, emotion, and will. Cyrus does not want their energy for the power grid. He wants to extract it, bottle it, and use it to rewrite the universe. The illusion served its purpose perfectly. It bought time. It bought loyalty. It bought the silence of a region. But the research phase is complete. The scaffolding is built. The foundation is laid for the climb to Spear Pillar. The mask must remain for a little while longer. But the quiet work of harvesting spirit has already begun. The clean energy illusion was a carefully constructed facade. It gave Team Galactic the freedom to research what they truly desired, and it was in Jubilife City that the first cracks in this facade began to show. Jubilife City stands as Sinnoh's most modern metropolis, a hub of media and industry. It was here, in the heart of this gleaming city, that Team Galactic made their first known public move. Professor Samuel Rowan, Sinnoh's foremost authority on Pokémon evolution, was conducting research in Jubilife with his young assistant. Their work was fundamental, understanding the process that bonds a Pokémon and its trainer, the very energy that sparks transformation. It was this research that drew the attention of Team Galactic. A group of Galactic Grunts confronted the professor and his assistant directly. They attempted to steal Rowan's data, his notes on evolution. The confrontation was brief, but it left a clear impression. To the public, to the authorities, it looked like a straightforward theft. A scientific mob trying to get their hands on valuable research to sell on the black market, or to fuel their supposed clean energy projects. But there was an urgency to their methods, a specific focus that revealed more than they intended. Evolution was central to their official cover story. The energy released during evolution was something they claimed to be studying, but their brute force approach in Jubilife suggested their interest ran deeper than simple energy harvesting. This was the first clue, a whisper of a larger truth. Team Galactic's interest in evolution was perhaps less about understanding the transformation of Pokémon, and more about the fundamental ability to cause transformation, to control the flow of energy and existence itself. It was a small hint, easily overlooked in the chaos of a simple street crime, but it pointed toward ambitions that stretched far beyond Pokémon battles or corporate espionage. It hinted at a desire not just to change the world, but to unmake it entirely and rebuild it according to a single cold design. From the quiet streets of Jubilife, the trail would soon lead north to the Valley Windworks, where their need for raw power would be revealed in a far more direct fashion. At the Valley Windworks, that hidden purpose became impossible to ignore. The facility sat near Floaroma town, drawing power from the constant winds that swept across the northern fields. To most people, it was simply another piece of Sinnoh's infrastructure, an ordinary plant supplying electricity to the surrounding region. To Team Galactic, it was a source of energy ready to be seized. Their operation there was not subtle. Galactic Grunts occupied the building, drove away anyone who tried to intervene, and locked themselves behind its heavy doors. The manager of the Windworks was taken hostage, leaving his young daughter waiting outside, terrified and powerless to help. This was no research partnership. This was not a company negotiating for access to a resource. It was an armed takeover. The choice of target was revealing. Team Galactic had spoken endlessly about new sources of clean power, but they had no interest in building a better future for Sinnoh. They wanted control over the systems that already kept the region alive. Electricity, industry, transportation, communication, every part of modern life depended on facilities like the Valley Windworks. By taking one so easily, they proved they were willing to turn public infrastructure into a weapon. Yet the Windworks was only one piece of a larger operation. The key needed to enter the facility had been carried away by Galactic agents and taken toward Floaroma Meadow. There, on fields known for their sweet flowers and peaceful atmosphere, the same ugliness appeared again. Team Galactic Grunts bullied a local man who harvested honey from the meadow's trees, treating his livelihood as though it were nothing. They were not merely passing through. They were establishing control, taking what they needed, and crushing anyone too weak to resist. This pattern would define nearly every encounter with Team Galactic. They operated through intimidation first, a locked door, a stolen key, a frightened child, a threatened worker. Each incident seemed small when viewed alone, almost trivial compared to the disasters that would come later. But together, they showed the shape of the organization. Galactic did not see people as people. They saw obstacles, tools, or raw material. Inside the Valley Windworks, that philosophy had a face. Commander Mars, one of Cyrus's highest-ranking officers, was overseeing the occupation. Unlike the anonymous grunts, Mars carried herself with confidence. She did not need to hide behind the language of environmental research or corporate progress. Her presence made it clear that this operation mattered to the people at the very top of Team Galactic. When challenged, Mars responded not with negotiation, but with force. Her Pokémon were powerful, disciplined, and chosen to overwhelm anyone who stood in her way. The battle at the Windworks was more than an attempt to remove a trespasser. It was a test of Team Galactic's authority. They had expected the region to remain passive, while they gathered resources in secret. They had expected fear to be enough, but their defeat forced them to retreat, at least for the moment. The manager was freed, the Windworks returned to normal, and the immediate threat appeared to be over. For the people living near Floaroma, it may have seemed like a narrow escape from a criminal gang. The lights stayed on, the wind kept turning the turbines. Life continued, but Team Galactic had already learned something valuable. They had measured the resistance they would face. They had demonstrated that they could occupy a vital facility with almost no warning. And most importantly, they had shown that their obsession with energy was not theoretical. They were actively collecting power wherever they could find it. Whether it came from Pokémon evolution, industrial turbines, or forces far older than anything humanity had built. The brief confrontation in Jubilife City was more than a simple theft attempt. It was a declaration of intent, a public unveiling of a force that had been gathering in the shadows. The grunts who harassed Professor Rowan were not master criminals. They were recruits, followers, true believers in a cause they had only been shown in the most flattering light. And in that, they represent the first and most effective layer of Cyrus's grand deception, a deception that begins with the very people who serve him. Because Team Galactic's rank-and-file members are not trusted with the truth. This is not a failing of communication, but a deliberate structural principle. When a new grunt signs on, they are told they are collecting Pokémon for scientific advancement. They are told they are on the verge of discovering a new, clean energy source that will power Sinnoh for generations. They are told they are helping to build a better world, and many of them believe it. They join because they want to be part of something larger than themselves. They see the pollution in the cities, the struggles of everyday life, the imperfections that plague a world built on emotion and will. They see the mess of spirit, and they want to fix it with logic and order. Team Galactic offers them that narrative, a clean, precise, scientific solution to the chaos of the world, and so they trade their conscience for a uniform. They do not realize they are gripping a leash, not a lifeline. They do not see that the organization they serve is not building a better version of this world. It is designing a blueprint to erase it entirely. Their shallow understanding of the mission is what protects Cyrus from betrayal. A grunt who knows only that they are stealing a Pokéball or shutting down a generator has no leverage. They cannot expose a plan they do not know exists. If they are caught by the police, they can only confess to the petty crime they were committing. They have nothing of value to trade for their freedom. This vacuum of knowledge makes the organization incredibly easy to control from the top. There is no need for complex loyalty oaths or surveillance when the subordinates themselves do not possess the information to be disloyal about. They are loyal to a benevolent cause that does not exist. And because they believe in that cause, they follow orders. They rough up scientists. They steal Pokémon from children. They trespass into sacred lakes and caverns. And every time they justify it to themselves as a necessary step toward a brighter tomorrow. Their conscience is quieted by the promise of a future they will never actually see. The grunts are tools in a machine. Nothing more, nothing less. They are given a uniform, a set of marching orders, and a narrow view of the world. They guard the Valley Windworks without knowing why its power is needed for the larger scheme. They search for the Lake Trio without understanding that capturing Uxie, Mesprit and Azelf is an act of violence against the very spirit of the world. They are serving a future they cannot possibly comprehend. If they knew the truth, if they knew that Cyrus looked upon the universe and saw only a mistake to be erased, most of them would likely recoil, but they do not know. They live in a comfortable bubble of half-truths. convinced that their small cruelties are building a greater good. And in this ignorance, they are perfectly, tragically useful. The tragedy of the Team Galactic grunt is that they are utterly replaceable. Their individual hopes and dreams mean nothing to the organization, which views them as disposable components in a machine designed for a single purpose. They are not partners in a grand endeavor. They are fuel, they are cogs, and their ignorance is the oil that keeps the whole engine running smoothly. They remain loyal because they never see the full picture, and Cyrus, standing alone at the top of the pyramid, ensures that no one ever does. He does not trust them. He does not respect them. He simply uses them. So the grunts spread out across Sinnoh like a slow tide. They occupy buildings in Floroma Town. They stake out the routes leading to Mount Coronet. They patrol the shadowy corners of Veilstone City. They steal Pokémon. They intimidate locals. And they spread their message of a clean energy future. They become a familiar, if unwelcome, presence in the region. Citizens learn to spot the blue uniforms from a distance. Trainers learn to brace for battle. But the grunts are just the surface of the operation. Beneath them, the structure of Team Galactic grows more concentrated and more secretive. The officers, the commanders, the scientist Charon, they stand on the next tier of the pyramid. Their eyes are open just a crack wider. They are trusted with more of the plan, though still not all of it. They do not know about the new universe. They do not know about the erasure of spirit, but they know about the red chain. They know about the Lake Guardians. They know about the power they are gathering, and what they see, what they are asked to do in service of that partial vision, shapes the entire conflict to come. The rank and file of Team Galactic walk the streets of Jubilife City with a purpose that feels borrowed. They speak of a better world, of clean energy, of capturing Pokémon for the betterment of the team. But these words are scripts handed down from above. The grunts are the fingers of a hand, and they do not see the face it belongs to. They do not know where the arm is directing them. For all their activity, the organization's true nature remains veiled behind a mask of research and development. But a mask is not the face, and eventually it slips. The first real glimpse into what Team Galactic is willing to do, the first time the organization shows its teeth to the wider world, takes place not in a bustling city, but at a quiet, functional piece of Sinnoh's backbone, Valley Windworks. The Valley Windworks is not a dramatic location. It sits on a stretch of land connecting Floroma Town to the forest routes leading toward Eterna City. It is a power plant, a facility designed to channel the wind, sweeping down from nearby peaks into electricity at the homes and businesses of the region. It is infrastructure, quiet, vital, and largely ignored by the average person until it breaks. Team Galactic recognized its value immediately, not for its energy, though they would take that, but for its position, for its utility, for the fact that a facility dedicated to power generation can be turned into a forward operating base. The operation at the Valley Windworks is led by a woman whose name will soon become synonymous with the team's forward aggression, Commander Mars. Mars is one of the 3 high-ranking executives directly beneath Cyrus. Her counterparts, Jupiter and Saturn, handle different theatres of the organization's work, but Mars is the one who takes point on this first major land grab. She arrives with a squad of grunts, and they do not simply steal a few batteries. They occupy the facility. They convert its industrial machinery toward their own purposes. The windmills keep spinning, but the power they generate no longer flows to Floroma Town. It is diverted, stored and hoarded for Team Galactic's own ambitions. What seems at first glance to be a simple case of corporate sabotage or local power theft is something far more deliberate. Team Galactic is using the Valley Windworks as a test case, a proof of concept. Can they seize a piece of Sinnoh's infrastructure? Can they hold it against interference? The answer, at least for this moment, is yes. The organization is willing to exploit anything if it brings them closer to their hidden design. A power plant is just a tool. The people who rely on it are simply obstacles. The confidence required to enact such a brazen occupation comes directly from the personality of the commander on the ground. Mars is not a subtle woman. Saturn carries the weight of a skeptical intelligence. Jupiter carries the cold patience of a professional. Mars carries herself with a sharp, unguarded aggression. She has no patience for incompetence, and even less for interference. She regards the trainer who inevitably arrives to investigate the disturbance not as a threat, but as a nuisance, an insect buzzing around the machinery of a greater purpose. And the Pokémon she chooses to reflect that temperament is Purugly. Purugly is a cat Pokémon that outwardly appears comical, if not fat and lazy, but this is a misreading of its nature. Purugly is incredibly fast for its frame. It is fiercely territorial and aggressively confident. It meets any challenge with a snarl. Mars and her Purugly are a seamless match. The commander projects a contempt for the world that her Pokémon embodies physically. Anyone who steps into her path, anyone who questions the operation at the Windworks, is met with that same territorial fury. She does not debate. She does not explain. She attacks. The Purugly is her statement of intent. I am here. This place is mine. You are nothing. When the player character breaches the facility and defeats the Grunts standing guard, Mars is forced to step forward personally. A dialogue in that moment is revealing. She does not dismiss the player as a child playing with Pokémon. She dismisses them as an obstacle to a future they cannot comprehend. Commander Mars leads Team Galactic's operation at Valley Windworks with a single-minded focus. The theft of energy is the objective, but the occupation of the facility serves a second purpose. It gives the team a foothold, a place to establish its growing power in the physical geography of Sinnoh. They are no longer just a shadowy group meeting in basements or warehouses. They are a presence. They have territory. Mars fails to hold the Windworks against the player's challenge, retreating when her Purugly is defeated, but she escapes with the energy. The operation is a success. The infrastructure has been exploited. The region's resources have been drained to feed a machine that is still largely invisible. The confrontation at Valley Windworks is the public's first undeniable proof that Team Galactic is not a fringe research group. They are willing to seize what they want. They will disrupt the daily lives of the region. They have commanders who are capable, aggressive, and deeply committed, and they are not afraid to show their hand. The energy stolen from the Valley Windworks does not simply disappear. It has a destination. It has a purpose. It must be moved, stored, and eventually applied to a much larger system. The trail of that stolen power leads directly into the heart of Eterna City, where a building stands that belongs to no ordinary business. It is a galactic base, hidden in plain sight, humming with the diverted energy of a stolen wind. And there, a different commander waits. A woman whose methods are colder, whose reach is longer, and whose patience is far greater than Mars's aggressive fire. The operation at Valley Windworks was a significant step for the organization, a signal of their growing reach. But Commander Mars is not an isolated figure. Cyrus surrounds himself with commanders named after worlds orbiting the Sun: Mars, Jupiter, and Saturn. The planetary names hint at the scale of the leader's ambition long before it is fully understood. These are not random code names. They are titles that evoke vastness, distance, and a kind of cold celestial order. They suggest a leader who thinks not in terms of a single region, but in terms of systems, forces, and the very mechanics of reality. Each commander commands operations, recruits grunts, and carries out pieces of a larger plan. Mars brings a volatile, aggressive energy to her role. A signature Purugly is a fitting partner for someone who operates with visible, almost reckless force. She leads the charge at the Valley Windworks, stealing energy directly for the organization's growing needs. Jupiter exudes a colder, more calculated temperament. Her Skuntank matches a partner who oversees the theft of rare Pokémon and research data in Eterna City with a stern, unwavering discipline. She represents the organization's patience, but it is Saturn who holds the most telling position among the three. As the first commander, He is the highest in rank, the one who stands closest to Cyrus in the daily operations of the team. His signature Pokémon is Toxicroak, a creature of strategy and poison. He is the one who confronts those who dig too deep, demanding stolen data and protecting the organization's secrets. Yet even these trusted lieutenants remain separated from the darkest truth at Team Galactic's core. The ultimate purpose of their work is a secret that is never completely shared. They are given orders that advance a cause they do not fully understand. Saturn, despite his rank, is unaware of the true plan until the very moment the final pieces are put into place. They are essential to the machinery, but they are not trusted with its final purpose. The names they carry hint at a cosmic vision, a desire to reshape existence itself, but the specifics of that vision are locked away in the mind of their leader alone. The commanders build the infrastructure, they gather the resources, and they maintain the loyalty of the grunts. But they are assembling something whose destination is hidden from them. The true gravity of the plan pulls toward a center they have not been allowed to see. And at that center lies something that existed long before Team Galactic ever scrawled its logo across the walls of Sinnoh. That ancient power is woven into Sinnoh's oldest legends. Long before there were cities, gyms, or trainers, the people of this region told stories of beings that governed the foundations of the world. Dialga, the Pokémon of time, Palkia, the Pokémon of space, and in the shadows behind both of them, Giratina, the banished ruler of a distorted realm beyond ordinary reality. To Cyrus, these were not simply myths to be respected, they were tools waiting to be claimed. If time and space could be controlled, then the flawed human world could be erased and replaced. Every stolen energy source, every raid on a research facility, every artifact taken from an ancient site was part of the preparation for that single act. The key to reaching those powers lies at the three great lakes of Sinnoh. Lake Valor, Lake Verity, and Lake Acuity are protected by Azulf, Mesprit, and Uxie. These three legendary Pokémon are known as the guardians of willpower, emotion, and knowledge. Together, they represent the qualities Cyrus believes have corrupted humanity. In his eyes, emotion causes pain. Knowledge creates uncertainty. Willpower gives people the freedom to oppose order. The Lake Guardians are not merely obstacles to Team Galactic. They are symbols of everything Cyrus wants removed from existence. Their capture is one of the organization's most ruthless operations. Team Galactic attacks the lakes, drives away anyone who could interfere, and takes the Guardians prisoner. The commanders see this as another necessary mission. They know the Pokémon possess great power, but even then, they do not fully grasp what Cyrus intends to create from that power. What he needs is the Red Chain, an object capable of binding beings that should never be controlled by human hands. Forged through the suffering of the Lake Guardians, the chain becomes the final instrument of his plan. It is not a weapon in the ordinary sense. It is a declaration that Cyrus believes even the forces that created reality can be forced into obedience. All roads then lead to Mount Coronet, the massive mountain that stands at the heart of Sinnoh. At its summit is Spear Pillar, an ancient place where the boundary between the human world and the realms of legendary Pokémon grows thin. It is there that Cyrus finally reveals the scale of his ambition. He does not want wealth. He does not want political control. He does not even seek revenge against a world that rejected him. He wants to destroy the world completely and build a new one without spirit, without conflict, and without the emotions he considers weaknesses. It is a vision of perfect order, but it is also a vision of absolute emptiness. Cyrus sees a universe without pain. What he fails to understand is that he is also describing a universe without joy, connection, choice, or life as anyone knows it. Of all the planetary names Cyrus chose for his commanders, Jupiter carries the most weight in more ways than one. In the solar system, Jupiter is the largest world, a gas giant of immense gravity and scale, and for Team Galactic, Commander Jupiter holds a similar presence. She oversees the organization's activities around Eterna City, a historic settlement built in the shadow of a massive, ancient tree. It is here that Jupiter establishes herself as perhaps the most openly intimidating of Cyrus's lieutenants. Her appearance alone sets her apart. Where Mars carries a kind of sharp, agitated energy, Jupiter projects cold authority. She moves through Eterna City with the confidence of someone who knows that resistance is pointless. And at her side always is her Skuntank. It is a Pokémon that suits her perfectly. Skuntank is not a creature of speed or elegance. It is stubborn, foul, and unafraid to stand its ground. Its presence is a warning. Jupiter does not need to raise her voice often, because her Skuntank communicates a clear message. Cross her and the consequences will be unpleasant. Under her command, Team Galactic's operations in Eterna take on a darker character. The theft of Pokémon becomes routine. Grunts move through the city and the surrounding routes, taking Pokémon from trainers who cannot fight back. Sometimes they target weaker trainers outright. Other times they use fear to silence anyone who might report them. Ordinary people in Eterna City begin to see Team Galactic as a criminal gang, plain and simple. They see thieves, they see bullies, they see an organization that steals Pokémon and threatens anyone who gets in its way. What they do not see is the larger picture. The victims of these thefts assume they are dealing with a typical gang of Pokémon criminals. They assume the stolen Pokémon are being sold, traded, or kept for some mundane purpose. They have no reason to suspect that every single captured creature is being funneled into a plan that reaches far beyond Sinnoh. The stolen Pokémon are not ends in themselves. They are resources for something much larger. They are fuel for experiments. They are potential components for devices that ordinary people cannot even imagine. The people of Eterna City see a crime wave. They do not see the cosmic campaign that their stolen Pokémon are feeding. This disconnect is deliberate. Jupiter's role is to keep the operation moving, to ensure that Team Galactic's activities remain efficient and uninterrupted. Ruthlessness serves that purpose. By projecting strength and punishing defiance, she creates an environment where people think twice before interfering. They do not need to understand the true goal. They just need to stay out of the way. In that sense, Jupiter is the face of Team Galactic that most people will remember. She is the one who turns the organization's abstract ambition into something immediate and threatening. Under her watch, Eterna City becomes a place where fear does the work that persuasion cannot. And when the Grunts move through the streets with stolen Pokémon in their hands, the locals look away. They do not know that the creatures being taken are destined for a plan that involves the fabric of time and space itself. They only know that Commander Jupiter and her Skuntank are not to be challenged, and so the theft continues quietly, systematically. The citizens of Eterna see what they can understand: a gang, a crime, a threat. They do not see the distortion forming at the edges of reality. That part of the picture remains hidden, held close by the inner circle, waiting for the moment when the planetary alignment of commanders will finally serve its true purpose. Beyond Eterna, the pattern becomes clearer. Cyrus has not simply gathered a group of capable criminals. He has assigned each commander a territory, a function, and a piece of a much larger machine. Jupiter controls through intimidation, but her work is only one part of the system. Every stolen Pokémon, every frightened witness, and every route placed under Team Galactic's influence helps create the conditions Cyrus needs. This is what makes Jupiter so dangerous. She is not reckless. She does not need to understand every detail of the final plan. In order to carry it out with absolute commitment, her loyalty is expressed through results. Eterna City is expected to remain under pressure. Its people are expected to remain afraid, and anyone who stands against Team Galactic is expected to learn that the organization has far more power than its matching uniforms might suggest. Yet even Jupiter's authority has limits. She is a commander, not the architect. The true purpose behind the thefts, the research, and the growing unrest belongs to Cyrus alone. He has divided knowledge among his followers as carefully as he has divided responsibility. By keeping the full design hidden, He ensures that no one beneath him can easily question it, betray it, or fully comprehend how close they are to disaster. For now, Eterna City remains another controlled point on the map, but Team Galactic is never content to hold ground for long. Its members are always gathering, transporting, repairing, and waiting. Jupiter's campaign of fear is not the end of the story. It is one of the early signs that Sinnoh is being quietly reshaped by people who believe the entire universe can be remade. Before we dive deeper into this incredible journey, I'm curious, where in the world are you watching this from? Drop a comment below and let our global community know. And if you're finding this as mind-blowing as I am, hit that like button to help more people discover this story. Commander Jupiter oversaw Team Galactic's presence in Eterna City from within the building that had become the organization's headquarters, the Eterna Building. If you have played through Eterna City in the games, you may remember passing this building, the grunts outside, the blocked entrance. It was an early reminder that this city, for all its charm, was under occupation. Inside, the occupation took its most structured form. To the residents of Eterna City, it was an unremarkable commercial structure, a building that had once housed offices and businesses. But under Team Galactic's occupation, it was transformed. It became a controlled fortress. The doors were sealed, the windows were darkened, the public was turned away. Inside, the space was remade entirely to serve a single purpose. The atmosphere inside was a study in contradiction. The operation blended bureaucratic order with criminal intimidation. There were no raised voices here, no overt threats. Instead, a quiet pressure filled the air. Grunts sat at rows of identical desks, staring at computer terminals. They managed the logistical machinery of the syndicate. Paperwork was filed. Reports were written. Supplies were ordered. It looked like a functioning corporate office, but the uniforms were identical. The movements were synchronized. Every conversation was low. Every word was professional. The intimidation came not from the threat of violence, but from the absolute, suffocating order of the environment. The computers hummed in the silence. The overhead lights cast a flat, colorless glow. Every desk was identical. Every chair was perfectly aligned. There was no decoration, no personal items. The grunts did not inhabit their workspaces. They simply occupied them. The space was designed to erase the individual, leaving only the function. It was a remarkable achievement of interior design, reflecting the philosophy of its absent leader. Cyrus's vision made real in linoleum and fluorescent light. Inside the Eterna Building, the team's rhetoric about scientific advancement became more unsettling. Away from the polite fictions offered to the public, the true philosophy of the organization was spoken aloud. Grunts discussed the future, the new world, the necessity of progress. They spoke with the calm certainty of people who had been fully indoctrinated. The language of evolution and energy masked a deep rejection of the current order, a desire to erase everything and begin again. And it was this sterile environment that gave shape to Cyrus's ambition. His ideal world began to take shape here in miniature. The Eterna Building was not just a base of operations. It was a prototype, a blueprint, a small-scale model of the universe he dreamed of creating. A universe without spirit. It was orderly. It was obedient. It was stripped of individual choice. Every grunt had a function. Every function was dictated by the chain of command. There was no room for personal deviation, no room for emotion, no room for the messiness of being human. The individual was absorbed entirely into the organization. This was the template for the future. The Eterna Building was a perfect image of Cyrus's perfect world, but the perfect world could not exist alongside the imperfection of the old one. The three aspects of spirit that Cyrus despised most, knowledge, motion, and will, still existed in the world outside. They were not simply abstract concepts to him. They were the pillars that held up the universe he intended to tear down. And the key to tearing them down lay not within the walls of the Eterna Building, but out in the ancient lakes of the Sinnoh region. The hunt for the sources of spirit had already begun. At Lake Valor, Lake Acuity, and Lake Verity, 3 Pokémon slept beneath the surface of the water, Azelf, Uxie, and Mesprit. To the people of Sinnoh, they were ancient beings of legend. To Cyrus, they were resources, living components in a machine that would destroy the existing universe and replace it with one of his own design. Each lake represented one aspect of the spirit Cyrus believed had corrupted the world. Uxie embodied knowledge, Mesprit embodied emotion, Azelf embodied willpower. Together, they formed the human spirit itself, the very thing that gave people the capacity to question, to care, and to choose. Cyrus did not see those qualities as strengths. He saw them as flaws. Knowledge created doubt, emotion created pain, willpower created conflict. If those forces could be controlled, then perhaps the universe could be controlled as well. The Eterna Building was only the first visible stage of that plan. Beneath its ordered offices and silent rows of computers, Team Galactic was preparing for something far older, far more dangerous, and far more ambitious than a corporate takeover. The occupation of Eterna City was not the goal, it was practice. From the Eterna Building, that fortress of sterile order, the organization's influence extends outward into the Sinnoh region. It is here, on the open road, that the player first meets the commander, who perhaps best embodies discipline Cyrus demands from his inner circle. Saturn is the first commander a trainer encounters on the journey, and he immediately establishes himself as one of the most composed and disciplined of Cyrus's followers. There is a stillness to him that the other commanders lack, a quiet certainty that suggests a mind fully in control of its actions. His signature Pokémon, Toxicroak, is a perfect mirror for this practical and composed approach to conflict, where Mars keeps a pampered Purugly for comfort, and Jupiter a spiteful Skuntank for intimidation. Saturn's partner is a creature of calculated precision. Toxicroak waits, assesses, and strikes with a venomous efficiency that makes it an ideal partner for a commander who values function over spectacle. It is not a display of power, but a tool designed specifically for execution. The partnership is built not on affection, but on a mutual understanding of purpose. They are a unit meant to overcome obstacles without unnecessary noise. This is what makes Saturn a genuinely intriguing figure within the story of Team Galactic. Unlike Cyrus, who has systematically stripped himself of all sentiment and views every being, human or Pokémon, as a component to be either used or discarded, Saturn retains something closer to humanity. He expresses frustration when his subordinates fail, but the frustration carries a distinctly personal weight. He does not mock his opponents or revel in cruelty. He seems capable of a form of concern that is entirely absent from his leader, a remnant of the very spirit Cyrus seeks to erase from existence. But his loyalty to Cyrus is genuine. It is not a mask worn for advancement. It is a real, disciplined commitment to a leader he respects. And yet, his loyalty rests on an incomplete understanding of what Team Galactic is truly building. Saturn believes he is serving a genius who will construct a better world, a logical paradise free from suffering and conflict. He is devoted to the promise of that goal, without ever grasping the terrifying emptiness of the goal itself. He is a true believer in the method, kept deliberately blind to the destination. There is a tactical quality to his every appearance in the story. When he confronts the player in the Eterna Building, he does not posture or gloat. He acknowledges the arrival as an inconvenience to be managed, issues his challenge, and proceeds. Defeat does not shatter his composure. He registers the loss, accepts the result, and withdraws to adapt. This is not the behavior of a fanatic. This is the behavior of a career soldier, loyal to his cause and to his commander. Even if the greater strategy remains hidden from his rank, it is a loyalty built on trust, on duty, on a promise. And it is precisely this loyalty that makes him such a dangerous opponent, a man who will follow the path to its end without ever knowing how far it truly goes. Saturn remains at his core a soldier unaware of the true nature of the war he serves. The real machinery of that war is not forged on the battlefield. It is assembled in the sterile quiet of a laboratory where the energy stolen under the commander's watch is transformed into something far more ambitious. The tools Cyrus requires are not military hardware. They are instruments designed to capture and control the primal forces of the universe itself. It is this hidden layer of the organization, the quiet work of turning stolen power into a cage for gods, that forms the next piece of the puzzle. At the center of that hidden work stands Charon, the scientist whose presence reveals how deeply Team Galactic has fused ideology with technology. He is not driven by the austere devotion shown by Saturn, nor by the personal ambition that flickers beneath the other commanders. Charon is interested in results. To him, the legends of Sinnoh are not sacred mysteries. They are sources of energy, ancient systems waiting to be studied, restrained, and exploited. His laboratories turn mythology into machinery. Through his research, the red chain becomes more than an artifact of legend. It becomes the physical proof that Cyrus's impossible dream can be engineered. The disciplined silence of Saturn, the loyalty he showed by simply doing his duty without asking the wider questions, pointed toward a single unwavering source of authority. That source was not a charismatic speech given in a clearing. It was a building. It was a city designed for function. That city is Veilstone. If you approach Veilstone from the surrounding routes, the change in atmosphere is immediate. The trees thin out. The natural landscape gives way to grey, industrial sprawl. The air takes on a weight, a smell of fuel and processed stone. This is not a city built for leisure or art. It is a city built for production. And it is here that Team Galactic chose to embed itself at the deepest level. The headquarters does not announce itself with fanfare. It stands as a blunt, efficient structure, its exterior promising nothing but the cold utility that Cyrus values above all else. And yet, within its walls, the operational heart of Team Galactic's entire Sinnoh campaign beats in a steady, silent rhythm. This is the point from which everything flows. Every stolen Pokémon, every diverted watt of energy from the Valley Windworks, every whispered order that reaches Mars or Jupiter or Saturn, it all originates from this single fortified location. The building itself is a microcosm of Cyrus's ideology. It houses research wings, where scientists in white coats analyze the very essence of Pokémon evolution, looking for the energy they need. It contains holding chambers where captured Pokémon are stored not out of malice, but out of cold utility. Data to be processed, energy to be extracted. The machinery hums constantly, generators and computer banks, processing data on the Lake Trio, on the frequencies of space-time, on the ruins hidden beneath Mount Coronet. And at the top of the structure lies the command floor, where a massive model of the galaxy rotates slowly in the dim light, a map of what Cyrus intends to own. The city's harsh industrial setting suits this vision perfectly. A world governed by pure efficiency does not require decoration. It does not require public approval. The acid rain that falls over Veilstone, the harsh concrete pathways, the grit that covers every surface. This is the aesthetic of a mind that has rejected the softness of emotion and the messiness of spirit. Veilstone is not a beautiful city, but it is honest. It is a place where the mask of civility is stripped away, leaving only the raw necessity of function. Behind its sealed doors, the nature of Team Galactic itself undergoes a transformation. The early operations were defined by petty crime, the harassment of Professor Rowan in Jubilife, the theft of energy from the Valley Windworks, the confiscation of Pokémon from trainers in Eterna. These were the acts of a conventional criminal syndicate, gathering capital and resources. But in Veilstone, the planning shifts. The organization graduates from stealing Pokémon to scheming against the fundamental forces of the universe. It moves from the realm of petty crime into the territory of mythological experimentation. The red chain is not something you can steal from a warehouse. It must be conceptualized, researched and forged. The knowledge required to summon Dialga or Palkia is not written in any publicly accessible text. It must be extracted from ancient lore, from artifacts, from the very fabric of the legendary Pokémon themselves. The headquarters in Veilstone is where this alchemy occurs. It is the laboratory where the ordinary world is left behind and the boundaries of reality are tested. The building is silent, but it is not empty. Grunts stand guard at every entrance. Security protocols ensure that only the most trusted individuals can approach the upper floors. The commanders walk these halls as extensions of Cyrus's will. Saturn himself disappears into this building after his work in the regions is complete, his Toxicroak following quietly as he attends briefings on operational efficiency and resource allocation. The silence is a weapon in itself. The public of Sinnoh does not know what to make of Team Galactic. In Jubilife, they are an annoyance. In Eterna, they are a menace. But in Veilstone, they are simply a presence, an accepted, immovable part of the landscape. The irony is that Cyrus demands absolute control over spirit, but the headquarters itself is devoid of it. There is no laughter in the halls. There is no camaraderie between the grunts. They move with precision, but without joy. The building breathes with the hum of machines, not the pulse of life. For Cyrus, this is not a flaw. It is the blueprint for the entire universe. A world where no one asks questions, where no one feels doubt, where no one resists the logic of absolute order. From this headquarters, the strings of the entire Sinnoh campaign are pulled. The operation to secure the 3 lakes, the creation of the Red Chain, the eventual assault on Spear Pillar. It all begins here in the quiet hum of computers and the cold gaze of a leader who sees the world as a flaw to be corrected. But a blueprint is not a finished structure. The headquarters could design the Red Chain, but it could not forge it without the crystals that could only be extracted from beings of pure spirit. The command room could simulate the capture of Dialga or Palkia, but the simulation meant nothing without the actual confrontation at the peak of the mountain. This silent base in Veilstone represented the ambition, the preparation, the logistical perfection of Cyrus's plan. But the plan itself required the organization to reach beyond the concrete and the steel, beyond the efficiency of a machine, into the chaotic, untamed wilderness of the Sinnoh region, where 3 ancient guardians slumbered beneath the surface of the lakes, waiting to be disturbed. From the silent, ordered corridors of Team Galactic's Veilstone headquarters, the true purpose of its sprawling structure begins to reveal itself. The organization has assembled the machinery. It has gathered its scientists. It has perfected its technologies of capture and control. It has built a fortress designed to hold the most powerful beings in the region. Now, the core of this network, Cyrus requires the specific components necessary for the engine of creation and destruction he intends to command. This draws the organization to 3 remote locations scattered across the Sinnoh region. Deep within Sinnoh's lakes live 3 legendary Pokémon tied to the nature of the human soul. These are the beings known collectively as the Lake Guardians. Uxie waits in the shadowed crystalline depths of Lake Acuity. Mesprit drifts through the open, reflective waters of Lake Verity, and Azelf rests within the swirling currents of Lake Valor. They are not merely powerful creatures dwelling in the water. They are the living embodiment of the fundamental aspects of consciousness itself. To capture them is to corner the very essence of what makes a being whole. Their existence is woven into the region's oldest creation stories. In the mythology passed down from the ancient Hisui era to the modern age, these 3 were born from the same original being created by Arceus, the same being that gave rise to Dialga, the Lord of Time, and Palkia, the Governor of Space. They are, in a very literal sense, siblings to the gods. Uxie is said to have given humanity the capacity for knowledge and the gift of sight. Mesprit bestowed the ability to feel emotion and the depth of sorrow. Azelf granted the power of will and the determination to act. Together, they form the framework of what it means to be a sentient being. Without them, the world would be empty of self-awareness. You might expect an organization seeking to control legendary power to treat such sacred figures with reverence. You might expect a leader seeking to remake the world, to respect the ancient forces that shaped it. But Cyrus does not see them as sacred beings, only as components required to dismantle the universe. To him, knowledge introduces uncertainty into a system that should be perfectly ordered. Emotion clouds judgment and creates irrational attachments. Will creates stubborn conflict and resistance to control. They represent the incompleteness of spirit he finds so offensive about the current world. He does not wish to understand them. He does not wish to commune with them. He only wishes to extract what they contain, to use their essence as a key, to unlock a door he should not open. The operation to secure them is a swift and clinical abduction. Commander Mars leads the assault on Lake Verity. Commander Jupiter takes Lake Valor. Commander Saturn is dispatched to Lake Acuity. The lakes are invaded. The Guardians are subdued not by battle alone, but by a specific technology designed to capture spirit energy. They are transported back to the holding facilities in Veilstone City, stripped of their freedom and their connection to their sacred waters. There, in the sterile labs beneath the corporate facade, the scientist Charon extracts a crystalline essence from each of them. They call these crystals the azure, red, and yellow orbs. This essence is the key ingredient for an artifact known as the Red Chain, a device designed to bind the gods of time and space without diminishing their power. It does not trap them in a ball, it shackles their will. With the essence extracted, the Lake Guardians are discarded. They collapse into a deep sleep, their power drained, their bodies left hidden deep within the lakes from which they were taken. Cyrus has no more use for the keepers of knowledge, emotion, and will. The chain is forged. His attention turns entirely away from the lakes and toward the sacred mountain shrine at the peak of Mount Coronet, a place called Spear Pillar. The components are ready. The gods of time and space await their summoner. The ritual is set to begin. Among Sinor's 3 inland lakes, Valor has always held a unique position. Nestled among the cliffs east of Veilstone City, its waters were known for their unusual clarity and the rare wild Pokémon that gathered along its shores. But it was here that Team Galactic launched its first open strike against the legendary guardians of the region, and the attack would leave a permanent scar on both the landscape and the understanding of just how far the organization was willing to go. When the player character eventually arrives at Lake Valor, they find something deeply wrong. The water is gone. Where a deep, tranquil lake once reflected the sky, there is only a muddy basin littered with rocks, abandoned equipment, and the bodies of Pokémon that could not escape in time. The most haunting image is the Magikarp, dozens of them, flopping uselessly in the shallow puddles that remain, gasping for a watery world that no longer exists. No one has bothered to help them. The grunts who carried out the operation simply left them to die, as if they were nothing more than bycatch in a scientific procedure. This is the first moment in Sinnoh where Team Galactic's public facade of clean energy research and orderly progress fully cracks. Their language has always been clinical, detached. They speak of evolution as a force to be harnessed, of Pokémon as reservoirs of energy, of a future where emotion and imperfection are replaced by pure logic. But here at Lake Valor, that language meets its real-world consequence. There is no logical justification for draining a lake and leaving its inhabitants to suffocate. There is no clean energy in the suffering of abandoned Magikarp. There is only cruelty dressed in a lab coat. The scale of what they have done becomes impossible to ignore when you realize why they drained the lake in the first place. Lake Valor is the home of Azelf, the legendary Pokémon of willpower. Deep within the lake's waters, Azelf waited alongside its kin in the other lakes, hidden from most of humanity. But Cyrus knew exactly where to find it. The draining of the lake served only one purpose: to expose Azelf and force it into the open. Once the water was gone, the grunts could move in, capture the legendary, and extract whatever they needed from its power, and they succeeded. Azelf was taken, bound, and transported away from its home to a place no one yet knows. The creature that embodies the will of the human soul, the spark that drives every living being to act, now belonged to Team Galactic. The implications ripple outward immediately. If they can drain a lake to capture a legendary, what would they do to a city? If they can ignore the suffering of hundreds of wild Pokémon, what would they do to anyone who stands in their way? This attack proves definitively that Cyrus does not see the world as something to be preserved. He sees it as raw material to be reshaped into his ideal order. The scars left at Lake Valor are not accidental damage from an overambitious energy project. They are deliberate marks of conquest. Cyrus is willing to scar the region itself, to permanently alter its geography and ecology. If that is what it takes to obtain the power he craves, the lake may never recover. The water might return over time, but the ecosystem has been shattered. The trust between Sinnoh's people and its ancient protectors has been broken, and the Lake Guardians, once hidden and peaceful, are now known targets. With Azelf in their possession, Team Galactic has taken the first critical step toward a plan that will soon threaten the very fabric of time and space. The other lakes remain untouched for now, but the pattern is set. If one lake can fall, so can the others. And in the silence that follows the assault on Lake Valor, the only sound is the faint, desperate flopping of Magikarp in mud. A sound that no amount of scientific language can sanitize away, and that sound becomes a warning. Team Galactic has shown Sinnoh exactly what its ambitions cost, and the region is about to learn that Lake Valor was only the beginning. The assault on Lake Valor was an act of devastating precision, a single thread in a tapestry of abduction that Team Galactic had woven across the entire Sinnoh region. That strike at Azelf's home was not an isolated incident. It was the final, heaviest blow in a coordinated campaign to strip the lakes of their ancient guardians. While Commander Mars seized control of the Valley Windworks for resources, and Jupiter embedded herself in the Eterna Building, the true mission was always the lakes. Saturn, Mars and Jupiter each led a strike force to the three bodies of water. Uxie, Mesprit and Azelf were each seized from the lakes they protect. The tranquil waters of Lake Verity, Lake Acuity and Lake Valor were drained. The caverns that once hummed with psychic energy fell silent. The Lake Guardians were gone, dragged away in machines, designed specifically to contain their immense power. The aftermath was a study in emptiness. At Lake Verity, the waters receded to reveal a muddy basin devoid of life. At Lake Acuity, the frozen landscape was broken only by the wreckage of the operation. At Lake Valor, the stranded Magikarp flopped helplessly, a haunting symbol of the ecological indifference of the commanders. The Magikarp at Lake Valor were not merely collateral damage, they were a statement. Team Galactic's scientific language of progress and clean energy was a complete facade. Beneath it lay a profound disregard for life itself, dismissing it as an inconvenient variable in an equation seeking absolute zero. Their captivity gives Team Galactic access to the forces Cyrus calls incomplete spirit. This is the core of his contradictory theology. He views the very essence of consciousness, knowledge without perfect logic, emotion that disrupts order, will that refuses to submit, as the flaws that make the universe unworthy of existence. Yet he cannot simply erase them. To rewrite reality, he must first understand and harness the very thing he despises. He has to extract the power of the soul to annihilate the soul. The three beings are not merely prisoners but living keys to an ancient ritual. They are not trophies of conquest, they are components. The ancient texts of Sinnoh, the very law that Cyrus studied in his youth under the tutelage of an old woman in Sunnyshore's City, speak of the Red Chain, an artifact not forged by modern hands, but a concept replicated from the deep myths of the Hisui region. The Lake Trio are the locks, and their power is the combination. By holding them captive and extracting their crystalline energy, Cyrus acquires the means to bind the deities of time and space. Dialga and Palkia, the embodiments of time and space, are the ultimate goals. To touch them, one must first conquer the spirit. The Lake Guardians are the keys that unlock the door to the very fabric of reality. Cyrus intends to use the very qualities he despises to forge an instrument of absolute control. The chains of knowledge, emotion and will shackle Dialga and Palkia, He bends the spirit to his logic. The red chain becomes a physical manifestation of his entire philosophy, using the chaos of the soul to impose the rigid order of the void. The prisoners in the basement of the Veilstone headquarters, Uxie, Mesprit and Azelf, are not just suffering, they are being drained. Their essence is being refined into the very tool that will end the need for spirit entirely. The irony is thick enough to drown the lake itself. Cyrus seeks to erase emotion, yet he harnesses it. He despises will, yet he exerts it. He distrusts knowledge, yet he exploits it. He is the ultimate hypocrite, or perhaps he is simply the ultimate pragmatist, willing to use any impurity to achieve perfect purity. The prisoners are held in containment fields, designed to slowly extract their psychic energy. In the games, this is represented by the strange crystals the scientists harvest. It is a slow, agonizing process. The Lake Trio are not just captured, they are being bled dry of the very essence of spirit. This energy is stored, purified, and prepared for the final step. With the Guardians contained, the final phase of the construction begins. The raw spiritual energy must be shaped. It must be bound into a physical object. This is a task for science and ancient lore combined. In the basement of the Galactic headquarters in Veilstone City, a complex machine hums with a frequency that should not exist in the natural world. Lasers cut through the extracted energy, and molecules of crystallized will, knowledge, and emotion are woven together. The red chain is a paradox in physical form. It binds without limiting power, a leash for a god. It requires the very freedom it denies. The components are ready. The keys are in place. The forge is lit. The creation of the red chain is the final preparation, the moment where philosophy becomes technology, and the destruction of the universe begins in earnest. The souls of the Lake Guardians are now the raw material for the world's end. 3 legendary Pokémon are now held captive within the depths of Team Galactic's Veilstone headquarters, but they were never the final prize. They were always intended as raw material, and the man who intends to forge them into a weapon is not a commander. He is the organization's sole scientist, and his name is Charon. Charon operates in a space entirely separate from the rest of the organization's hierarchy, where Cyrus provides the philosophy, the hatred for spirit, and the ultimate goal of cosmic reconstruction. Charon provides the method. He is the translator of impossible ambition. He takes the abstract desire to destroy the soul and renders it into a functional blueprint. This is the distinction that makes Team Galactic so uniquely dangerous. Previous criminal organizations sought power over regions. Team Galactic, through Charon's work, seeks the power to rewrite the fundamental nature of existence. The red chain is the central component of this blueprint. To create it, Charon requires the essence of the 3 beings that Cyrus despises most. From the crystals extracted deep within the hearts of the Lake Trio, he forges a device that is equal parts ancient ritual and advanced machinery. The crystals from Uxie, Mesprit and Azelf are not simply gemstones. They are the physical manifestation of the spirit Cyrus seeks to erase. Knowledge, emotion and will, these 3 aspects of the incomplete soul, as Cyrus calls them, now hardened into components for a machine. Creating the red chain is not a matter of mere capture. It requires precision. Charon must extract the energy of the Lake Guardians without destroying them, and he must channel that energy into a specific form. The machine that accomplishes this fills a significant portion of the Veilstone headquarters. It hums with a light that shifts between the colors of the 3 lakes. It is the most ambitious piece of technology ever created in the Sinnoh region, and it serves a single purpose. Unlike a Pokeball, which confines a Pokémon and often suppresses its full strength in the name of portability and safety, the red chain is designed for a different kind of control. It does not trap the legendary Pokémon within a confined space. Instead, it shackles them directly. It binds their will without reducing their power. This is a critical distinction for Cyrus's plan. He does not want a weakened Dialga or a subdued Palkia. He needs them operating at their absolute cosmic peak. He needs the full force of time and space available to him. He just needs their independent will to be replaced entirely by his own command. A Pokeball is a cage. The red chain is a leash. And the leash is held by a man who believes spirit is a weakness to be eliminated. With the completion of the red chain, Charon achieves something that no one in the history of Sinnoh managed. He takes the ancient myth of the original dragon and the heroes who bound it and turns it into a functional piece of technology. The legend is no longer just a story carved into the walls of some forgotten temple. It is now a machine that sits in a laboratory, ready to be deployed. The impossible plan of Cyrus, the destruction and recreation of the entire universe, becomes a concrete, scheduled operation. The red chain is the single point upon which all of his ambition pivots. Without it, he is just a deluded philosopher trapped in an empty room. With it, he holds the trigger to the end of everything. What is most striking about Charon is his absolute detachment from the consequences of his work. He does not share Cyrus's hatred for spirit. He does not desire a new world of pure logic. He does not seek power. He is, in the purest sense, a scientist. He was presented with a problem. The problem was how to control a deity. He devised a solution. That solution is the red chain. His satisfaction comes not from the end of existence, but from the elegance of the mechanism. He is the mechanic of the apocalypse. And like any good mechanic, he simply wants to see if the engine starts. The chain itself is not a simple rope or a length of metal links. It appears as a series of floating, angular rings, a construct of pure energy given form by the machinery. It is a bizarre fusion of the organic and the mechanical. It has no beginning and no end, forming a perfect loop. This shape is intentional. It mirrors the concept of a cycle, a timeless restraint. Charon's design language perfectly captures Cyrus's philosophy, a rigid, eternal structure imposed upon the chaotic flow of life. The commands for the chain are routed through massive machines designed to be transported to Spear Pillar. The ritual is precise. Cyrus will stand at the center of the relic, with the chain channeling the full power of the Lake Guardians. The plan is not just to summon Dialga or Palkia. The plan is to bind them so completely that they have no choice but to obey. The red chain is the instrument of this cosmic dominance, and so the red chain is completed. The machinery is calibrated. The Lake Trio have given everything they can be forced to give. Charon steps back from his creation. He has done his part. The rest belongs to Cyrus and the commanders. The fate of Sinnoh, and of every dimension connected to it, now rests on a single artifact. An artifact forged from the spirit Cyrus despises, designed to control the forces he seeks to command, and built by a man who solved the problem perfectly. The chain is ready. The stage is set. The final phase of Team Galactic's plan is about to begin. The chain must be carried to the peak of Mount Coronet, to the ruins of Spear Pillar, where the fabric of reality awaits its fate. The machine is ready. The operator is ready. And the universe holds its breath. Charon had done his work. The red chain was complete. It sat in the heart of the Veilstone headquarters, an object that felt older than the building that housed it. It was not a creation of modern technology. It was a relic of a philosophy, a device that had no precedent in the history of Pokémon. The red chain is more than a weapon. It is a declaration of Cyrus's worldview. To understand the chain is to understand the man. He does not believe in partnership. He does not believe in trust. He does not believe in understanding. He sees these things as softnesses, flaws in the logic of existence. They create unpredictability. They create suffering. His solution is control, absolute control. Control that does not ask for permission. The red chain does not ask for partnership, trust, or understanding from its target. It simply takes. It imposes. It occupies the space where we used to be and replaces it with the cold, firm grip of its wielder. Dialga and Palkia are the architects of reality. They are not mere creatures. Dialga is time itself. Palkia is space itself. To command them is to command the fundamental fabric of existence. But to command them is not the same as to capture them. A Pokeball respects a degree of consent. A Master Ball forces a capture, but a capture is still a binding, a contract. The red chain is not a contract. It is an erasure. It reduces beings of unimaginable power to instruments under a single will. Dialga does not agree to stop time. Palkia does not consent to shatter space. They are forced to obey a set of instructions programmed by the chain. To Cyrus, this is the ultimate expression of order. The chain is the bridge between his flawed reality and his perfect vision. He believes this is the purest form of order. Power without freedom and creation without spirit. Consider what it means to remove freedom. Every creature in the universe that has ever acted of its own accord is an imperfection in Cyrus's eyes. The freedom to choose wrong is the root of all suffering, so freedom must be removed entirely. The chain is the first step. It removes Dialga's freedom, then Palkia's. Then, with the universe remade, the freedom of every being that would ever exist is removed at the source. Creation without spirit. Spirit is the soul, the intangible quality that makes a living thing more than a machine. And Cyrus hates it. He hates that spirit can rebel. He hates that spirit can love. He hates that spirit makes things unpredictable. He wants a universe that runs on pure logic, pure cause and effect, with no messy variables. The red chain is the factory tool for building that universe. It stamps out spirit. The Lake Trio were the raw materials. Uxie, Mesprit and Azulf were never just Pokémon. They were the embodiments of knowledge, emotion, and will. They were the spirit that Cyrus despises, made manifest. And he used their very essence to build the weapon that would destroy spirit forever. It is the deepest irony of Team Galactic's entire plan. Spirit is the fuel for the machine that kills spirit. Knowledge, emotion, and will were drained, crystallized, and linked together into a leash for the gods. The chain glows with the captured light of the lakes. It hums with the silent echoes of the souls it was torn from. The chain is a paradox. It is a beautiful, terrible paradox. Cyrus does not see the tragedy. He sees only efficiency. The Lake Trio are not victims to him. They are components that have been repurposed for a better design. There is no cruelty in his mind. There is only the cold, flawless logic of his plan. Charon, the architect of the chain, stands outside this philosophy. He is a scientist. He saw the blueprints. He knew the materials. He built the device, but he does not share the vision. He built a tool. He did not build a testament. To him, the chain is an engineering challenge solved. To Cyrus, it is a scripture written in metal and stolen will. Even among the highest ranks of Team Galactic, the true purpose of the chain was only partially understood. Mars and Jupiter understood it as a powerful device, but Saturn, the silver-haired commander, understood the weight of it. He had watched the Lake Trio fall. He had seen the emptiness in their eyes after the extraction. He knew the chain was built from that emptiness, and his silence spoke volumes. The chain is an odd artifact in the context of Pokémon technology. There are items designed to make capturing easier. The Master Ball is the ultimate expression of that, a single catch guaranteed. But the Master Ball still relies on the mechanics of the Pokeball system. It traps the creature inside a contained space. The red chain works differently. It does not contain the creature. It leaves Dialga and Palkia fully manifest in the world. It does not restrain their full power. It restrains their will. This is the genius of Charon's design. The legendary Pokémon keep all of their strength, every scream of time, every tear in space, but they cannot aim it. They cannot direct it. They are power without purpose until Cyrus gives them one. The chain is a leash that does not pull. It commands absolutely. The chain does not forgive. It does not forget. It is not alive, but it carries the residue of the spirits it was torn from. Every time Cyrus held it, the coldness spread, not a physical cold, a spiritual one, a silence in the room that made people look away. Cyrus did not look away. He studied it with the same analytical focus he gave everything else. The chain was perfect. It did exactly what it was designed to do. It held power without compromise. It bound without negotiation. This is what he wanted for the universe. Every atom, every dimension, every thought, all bound, obedient, all silent. The chain was not a means to an end. It was the end itself made portable. Charon had finished the final calibration. The chain was ready to be used. The location for its activation was not random. The mountains of Sinnoh were not just mountains. They were the spine of the region, the origin point. The spear pillar at the summit of Mount Coronet was the exact point where Dialga and Palkia first emerged into existence. It was the only place where the chain would function. Cyrus walked to the chamber. He took the chain from its pedestal. The links clinked together, a sound that was somehow both metallic and organic, the sound of crystal, the sound of will. The chain felt heavy in his hands, not physically heavy, metaphysically heavy. It contained the entire soul of the Sinnoh region, compressed into a tool for his ambition. He would not ask the gods for permission. He would not ask for their understanding. He would command them, and they would obey. Because the red chain does not allow for disobedience. It overwrites the desire to disobey. It removes the capacity for choice, the purest form of order, power without freedom, creation without spirit. Cyrus left the headquarters. The grunts parted before him. They did not fully understand what he carried, but they felt the weight of the object. They felt the disturbance it caused in the world. The road to Spear Pillar was long, but Cyrus did not rush. The chain was patient. It had waited millennia to be forged. It could wait a few more hours. When he reached the summit, the sky would change. The chain would be raised, and the universe would end, not with fire, not with war, with a quiet binding. The chain that binds gods had found its wielder, and the gods themselves were about to feel its grip. The red chain was complete. It did not ask for trust. It did not ask for partnership. It did not ask for understanding. It was a tool of absolute control, forged from the extracted essence of knowledge, emotion, and will. But a tool is only as significant as the hand that wields it, and the place where it is wielded. For Cyrus, the destination had never been in doubt. The chain was not meant to be used in a laboratory, or a city, or even one of the lakes his forces had drained. It was made for a specific peak. The final path of Team Galactic runs directly through Mount Coronet, the ancient spine of Sinnoh. This is not a subtle route. The mountain is visible from almost every corner of the region, a jagged wall of stone and snow that splits the continent in two. To reach the summit, they must leave behind the civilized world of Jubilife and Eterna. They must pass through routes that are barely maintained, through caves where the light of the sun never reaches, and up a trail that has not seen heavy foot traffic in generations. The ascent is a physical declaration of intent. The organization is no longer content to operate in the shadows of the cities. It is marching openly to the heart of the world. And this mountain is more than geography. It is the link between the ordinary world the player has travelled through and Sinnoh's oldest myths of creation. Long before there were Pokémon trainers, long before the Sinnoh region had a name, the mountain was understood to be a pillar in the folklore passed down through the clans of Hisui. It was the anchor point for the creation of time, space and matter. To climb Mount Coronet is to walk upward through history, leaving the modern world behind and entering the realm of the ancients. Cyrus understands this. He has studied the legends more closely than anyone. He knows that the summit is not just a high point of land. It is the closest the physical world comes to the raw fabric of reality, a gateway. As the player pushes through the snow and the defenders, the missions of the entire organization finally converge at this sacred summit. It all points to this single destination: the theft of the Pokémon, the energy seized from the Valley Windworks, the Pokémon stolen from researchers and citizens, the draining of the 3 lakes, the creation of the Red Chain. Every single operation has been funded, timed and executed to support this final push. Mars and Jupiter oversee the blockade, ensuring that no one interferes. Saturn, despite his growing unease with the scale of the plan, continues to execute his orders. They all believe they are protecting a breakthrough, a ritual to reshape the world. They do not realize that Cyrus intends to leave the world entirely. He does not want to rule Sinnoh, he wants to replace it. The trail through the mountain is not a single road. It is a labyrinth of caverns and ledges, of pools of stagnant water and cliffs that drop into darkness. Team Galactic has established checkpoints throughout the interior. Grunts stand guard in the cold, their breath misting in the torchlight. They have drilled into the walls, run cables along the natural rock bridges, and converted the oldest tunnels into supply lines. The mountain is no longer just a natural barrier, it has become a fortress. And yet, the deeper the player goes, the more the fortress gives way to something older. The cables and the metal grates are eventually left behind. The path becomes a set of carved stone steps, weathered by centuries of ice and wind. It is a road meant for pilgrims. When the player reaches the summit, they emerge into the open air, onto the platform known as Spear Pillar. The pillars are not decorated with the insignia of Team Galactic. They are carved with symbols that predate any modern language. Symbols that represent the flow of time and the boundaries of space. The player is not just arriving at a boss fight, they are stepping into a creation myth that is about to be rewritten. Cyrus stands at the center of the pillar. He does not look anxious. He does not look triumphant. He looks patient, as if he has been waiting for this moment his entire life. The heat of the magma deep within the mountain keeps the air warm around him. But he seems unaffected by the strange atmosphere of the summit. He holds the red chain in his hands. It glows with a light that is not quite red, not quite blue, a color that seems to exist between the visible spectrum of normal eyes. The late trio have been drained. Their power is now concentrated in this object. All that remains is the final step, the summoning. But even as the fabric of reality around the pillars begins to hum with energy, the mountain itself seems to resist. The chain is not enough on its own. The link between the ordinary world and the divine is not so easily severed without consequence. Cyrus has prepared everything he can. He has walked the hidden road. He has brought his offering. And now the mountain, the pillar of creation, must decide whether to open the door. Every piece of the plan has finally arrived at this single location. The stolen energy, the captured spirits, the machines, the chain, and the man who designed it all. The mountain has served as the final gauntlet, protecting the sanctuary of creation from the unworthy. But Cyrus is not unworthy. He has simply prepared for this, longer and more carefully than anyone. He has walked the hidden road, and now he stands exactly where he intended to stand. The connection between the ordinary world and the oldest myths has been restored, but it is no longer a fragile bridge of legend. It is a chain. Cyrus raises it over Spear Pillar. The crystals embedded in its surface catch the light of the distorted sky. The symbols carved into the stone floor begin to glow in response. The air itself begins to tear at the edges, pulling the ancient myths of creation into the present tense. The room is ready, and what happens next is no longer a story that belongs to legend. It belongs to the moment. Spear Pillar is an altar carved into the highest peak of Mount Coronet. It is a place that exists outside the normal flow of life in Sinnoh, a space reserved for myths and endings. The journey through the mountains strips away the warmth of the world below. The air is thin, carries no scent of the forests or lakes that define the region. When Cyrus and his commanders step onto the stone platform, the silence is absolute. This is the quiet that comes before a universe is unmade. For years, Cyrus presented himself as a man of science and progress. Clean energy, the evolution of Pokémon, the betterment of society. His commanders believed in this vision. Saturn, the most calculating of the three, managed operations under the assumption that they were reforming Sinnoh from within. Mars and Jupiter followed with loyalty, convinced they were building a better future. But at Spear Pillar, standing before the threshold of the legendary realm, Cyrus stops hiding behind these promises. He abandons the language of progress and speaks the truth he has always held. He did not come here to reform the world. He came here to end it. Cyrus reveals his intention without a trace of hesitation or malice. He is calm. He is certain. The existing universe, he explains, is a failure. It was built on an incomplete foundation. That foundation is spirit, the collision of knowledge, emotion, and will. These forces, represented by Uxie, Mesprit, and Azelf, are not sacred to him. They are design flaws. They create suffering, conflict, and uncertainty. He intends to destroy the existing universe entirely and create another in its place, a universe of pure logic, a universe of absolute order, a universe without the chaos of heart or mind. In his new world, emotion, knowledge, and will would no longer disturb the order he desires. There would be no joy, but there would also be no pain, no ambition, but no failure. He does not see this as a loss of life. He sees it as the correction of a cosmic error. He is not a tyrant seeking power over a region. He is an architect dismantling a flawed blueprint to build a perfect one. The only difference is that the blueprint is reality itself, and every living thing is a mistake to be erased. This is the moment his commanders learn the weight of their service. Even his commanders learn too late that they were never helping reform Sinnoh, but helping erase it. Saturn stands frozen. The red chain hums in the cold air, and Saturn realizes that every command he followed, every strategy he executed, was a step toward this single moment of negation. He was not a commander in a revolution. He was a foreman on a demolition site. Mars and Jupiter share the same dawning horror. They carried out schemes against Pokémon and people, believing they were instruments of a new dawn. They were instruments of an apocalypse instead. Cyrus pays no attention to their realization, their shock, their regret, their fear. These are exactly the kinds of imperfections he has sworn to eliminate. They are symptoms of a broken system. In the new world, such feelings will not exist. The commanders have served their purpose. The Lake Trio have given their power. The red chain is complete. He raises the artifact toward the sky, toward the dimensional tier that hangs over Spear Pillar like an unfinished thought. The air thickens. The fabric of space does not simply shift. It screams. The distortion Cyrus has spent his life pursuing tiers open above the altar. Light emerges that has no source, that casts no shadow. The being that descends is not a creature summoned from a nest. It is a fundamental law of existence, pulled into physical form. Dialga, Palkia, the being of time, the being of space, perhaps both, perhaps something older that waits beneath both. Cyrus welcomes this power as a tool, a mechanism for his new universe. He believes he can control it, but a tool implies a user with a steady hand, and the universe, it seems, is about to push back against the hand that tried to erase it. The air continues to twist. The ground beneath Spear Pillar groans. The legend has answered the chain. What happens next will decide whether the cosmos is rewritten, or whether the man who tried to kill it is consumed by the very power he sought to command. I hope you're as amazed by this as I am. If you want to stay updated on more content like this, make sure to subscribe and join our community of curious minds. Trust me, what's coming next will challenge everything you thought you knew. Cyrus has made his declaration. His mask is gone, discarded at the top of Mount Coronet. Like everything else, he considers useless. He has told the player the truth. He hates this world. He will destroy it. And now, standing in the ancient wind of Spear Pillar, he begins the work. The red chain gleams. It is not a ceremonial item, not a trophy. It is a tool, a command interface, a leash for the gods. And the first god he calls answers to the name of Dialga. In Pokémon Diamond, Cyrus summons Dialga, the legendary Pokémon associated with time. The ritual is silent at first. Then the world groans. Dialga does not walk into the temple, it manifests. The air crystallizes around a single point of absolute temporal density. Past, present, and future collapse into a single moment at the center of the altar, and Dialga is there, a creature of steel and sapphire, a diamond crest burning with the light of every clock that has ever ticked. The red chain binds a being capable of warping the flow of existence itself. The chain glows with the stolen light of the Lake Trio, Uxie, Mesprit, Azelf, their essence woven into metal. Knowledge, emotion, will, forced into servitude, used to shackle something far older than humanity. Watch Cyrus carefully. He does not tremble. He does not kneel. Most beings, faced with the embodiment of time, would feel something. Awe, terror, reverence. Cyrus feels nothing but the satisfaction of a plan completed. He sees time as a tool for rebuilding reality, according to his personal design. Time to him is the mechanism that allows the flow of spirit to exist. Spirit changes over time. Spirit learns, hurts, loves, hopes. Time is the river that carries all this imperfection. Cyrus intends to dam that river, redirect it and drain it. He will rebuild the universe from the dry riverbed. A world without flow, a world without change, a world that matches the blueprint in his mind. Perfect, static, logical. The ritual transforms a regional criminal conspiracy into a direct threat to every moment that has ever existed. This is the moment the nature of Team Galactic fully clarifies. They were never just thieves. They were never just scientists. They were the hands that built the ladder, this platform. Every stolen Pokémon, every manipulated grunt, every secret lab was a single step leading here. And now the ladder is climbed. Cyrus stands at the top, and the entire timeline of the Pokémon world hangs from his hand. Dialga does not resist, or perhaps it cannot. The red chain is not simply strong. It is specifically designed to counteract the divine. It does not crush Dialga's will. It occupies it. It replaces Dialga's connection to time with Cyrus's command. The chain is a parasite of purpose. The master of time is now a slave to a master who despises everything time creates. The irony is cold, sharp, and entirely lost on Cyrus. He steps closer to the legendary. He speaks to it as an engineer speaks to a machine. The bond that most trainers seek with their Pokémon is absent. This is ownership. Total, clinical ownership. The space around Spear Pillar begins to distort. The sky through the temple pillars is not right. The stars are too bright. The sun stands still in the sky. Or maybe it is moving too fast. It is impossible to tell. Time is bleeding at the edges. This is the byproduct of binding a force like Dialga. Reality is a tapestry, and Dialga is the thread that carries the entire pattern forward. Pulling that thread taut causes the whole image to warp. Cyrus does not care about the damage. He welcomes it. Chaos is the symptom of spirit. He will burn it all down. The red chain tightens around Dialga's throat. The legendary lowers its head. Cyrus has won. He has achieved what no one else in Pokémon history has achieved. He holds the reins of time. The universe is his to rewrite. But a chain is a link between two things. One end is held by Cyrus. The other is around Dialga. And standing directly in the path of this linked force is a single trainer. The player character. The one who refused to stop. The one who embodies the very spirit Cyrus seeks to erase. The chain is complete. The command is given. But in the silence that follows the binding of time, footsteps echo on the ancient stone. In Pokémon Diamond, the red chain reaches for the creature of time. But in Pokémon Pearl, the ritual takes a fundamentally different turn. The summoning calls not the serpent of seconds and centuries, but the being that governs the very volume of existence. Palkia, the legendary Pokémon associated with space itself. Where Dialga asks when, Palkia asks where. Space is not simply the sky above or the ground beneath. It is the distance between objects. It is the container that holds all things. It is the reason anything can be somewhere instead of nowhere. And in Pokémon Pearl, Cyrus binds that container. He seizes the architecture of location itself. The effect is immediate. It is not the rush of time accelerating, or the freezing of a moment held to too long. It is a pressure, a wrongness in the way the world fits together. Space itself begins to distort under the pressure of Cyrus's ritual. The sky over Mount Coronet does not simply darken, it fractures. It splits open into patterns of light that should not exist in the normal spectrum. Vibrant violets and deep crimsons bleed across the horizon. The pillars of Spear Pillar appear to breathe, shifting closer and farther away at the same moment. The ground beneath feels solid, and yet it also feels as though it is falling. Distances become unreliable. A single step might cross a mile. A pause might lead nowhere at all. The boundaries that hold the universe together, the invisible walls that keep a mountain and a lake, they begin to tremble. they become vulnerable to a human plan. Cyrus stands at the center of this unraveling landscape with the same cold composure he has always carried. To him, the chaos of distorted space is not terrifying. It is evidence, proof that the universe is not a sacred creation, it is a machine, and machines can be taken apart and rebuilt. He has spent his entire life convinced that the world was flawed. He saw the pain caused by emotion, the conflicts born from will, the errors introduced by knowledge. He called this imperfection spirit, and he decided that spirit had no place in a perfect universe. Here, at the summit of his ambition, he is no longer speaking in philosophical metaphors. He is holding the power to act. The red chain binds Palkia tightly, and Cyrus proves that his dream is not metaphorical. He is prepared to rewrite the dimensions of reality. He does not want to rule the old world. He wants to delete it and build a new one from nothing. A universe of pure logic. A universe where nothing incomplete is allowed to exist. The ritual presses onward. The distortion spreads outward from Spear Pillar, radiating across Sinnoh like ripples in a pond that has no bottom. The lakes tremble. The underground caverns vibrate with a frequency that normal ears cannot detect, but that sensitive crystals can feel. The very geography of the region seems to stretch, as if the world is a balloon being squeezed at one end. Cyrus ignores all of it. His eyes are fixed on the new reality he intends to author. He has the god of space bound to his will. He has the red chain. He has the formula for a universe without spirit. But space does not surrender its shape without consequence. The pressure of the ritual does not simply distort, it breaks. The boundaries that held the universe together, the rules that separated one dimension from another, they give way. And the cracks are not empty. In the silence between the fractures, in the depths of the voids that Palkia's captivity has torn open, there is movement, a presence, something that dwells in the spaces that are not space. The distortion was never a sterile void. It was a prison, or perhaps it was a sanctuary for a being that was cast out of the orderly architecture of time and space. Cyrus believes he is writing the final chapter of the old universe. He believes he is in total control. But when you break the walls of reality to build something new, you cannot always control what was already living in the dark places between the stones. The boundaries are gone. The cracks are deepening. And deep within the distortion, something ancient stirs and turns its attention toward the light. The world starts to break long before the final blow is struck. At the summit of Mount Coronet, the ground shifts underfoot, not with the tremors of an earthquake, but with the hesitation of something that is no longer sure it should exist. The sky ripples. Clouds stretch and compress in ways that defy the simple physics of wind and weather. Natural law, the invisible architecture that holds the universe together, has become unreliable. It no longer feels secure. Cyrus stands at the center of this collapse, unmoved by the chaos around him. He has summoned what he came for. In the world of Diamond, that is Dialga, the being whose heartbeat dictates the passage of time. In Pearl, it is Palkia, the entity that draws the boundaries of space. In Platinum, he attempts to command both, dragging two incompatible absolutes into the same moment. The red chain wraps around their forms. It does not ask for compliance. It demands it. Light, space, and time respond to the presence of a controlled creation deity, and they do so with an audible strain. The pillars of Spear Pillar pulse with an unnatural glow. The very air hums with a frequency that does not belong to the natural world. The lake trio have already been drained. Oxy, Mesprit, and Azelf float in their cages, their essences siphoned into the chain that now binds gods. Cyrus has taken spirit and weaponized it. He has taken knowledge, emotion, and will, the exact things he despises, and used them to achieve his goal. There is a terrible elegance in this. He despises the tools he relies on. For the player, this is the moment where the nature of the journey changes. You did not climb Mount Coronet to win a badge. You did not cross the region to stop a robbery at a windmill. You did not chase Team Galactic through the snow to recover a single stolen Pokémon. Every previous conflict was a rehearsal. This is the performance. The struggle is no longer about protecting a town, a lake, or a stolen Pokémon. It becomes a defense of the imperfect world Cyrus wishes to replace. Every flaw that bothers him, every inefficiency, every moment of irrational love or grief or hope is on trial. You are defending the mess. Cyrus does not see you as a hero. He sees you as a symptom of a disease. He explains this calmly, rationally. He believes that spirit makes beings incomplete. He believes he is doing the universe a favor by starting over. He does not hate you. He simply finds you insufficient. The battle begins. The legendary creature strains against the chain. Time shifts. Space folds. In Platinum, the strain is too much. The fabric of reality tears. From the rift steps Giratina, the forgotten deity of the Distortion World. It does not attack you. It attacks the chain. It attacks Cyrus. It drags him into a dimension of pure paradox. A world without form or order. The exact opposite of everything Cyrus wanted to create. He vanishes into the rift. The red chain shatters. The lake trio are released. Dialga and Palkia disappear back into their domains. The mountain goes silent. What follows is not a celebration. The player is left standing on the peak, the wind returning to its normal rhythm. The world has been saved, but it has been saved on the terms of its imperfection. Cyrus is gone. He is not dead. He simply is elsewhere, trapped in a dimension that reflects the chaos he tried to erase. Team Galactic unravels in his absence. The grunts disband or disappear. The commanders scatter. In Veilstone City, Saturn stands in the abandoned headquarters. He looks at what is left. He dismantles the organization. He converts the building into a research center, focusing on clean energy. The original public mission, Charon, the man who designed the red chain, is taken into custody by Looker. He does not resist. He has no Pokémon. He only had his intellect, and his intellect had already done its damage. The world returns to itself. It is not a perfect world. It never was. It is filled with drought and flood, with hunger and hurt, with the messy, complicated traffic of living things making choices. The spirit Cyrus despised continues to animate it. The lakes of Sinnoh glow softly at night. Uxie, Mesprit and Azelf return to their silent vigilance. Time moves forward, space holds steady, and the story of Team Galactic becomes a layer of history, buried in the memory of the mountain. A reminder that order without warmth is just another kind of chaos, and that an imperfect world, defended by imperfect people, is still worth keeping. The previous chapter left us standing at the epicenter of a collapsing reality. At the summit of Mount Coronet, Cyrus had pulled back the curtain on the universe, proving that the fabric of time and space could be bent to a single will. But the story told in Pokémon Platinum reveals that this assault on creation was never just a simple act of summoning. It was an escalation, a deliberate and arrogant challenge to the very foundation of existence. In the earlier versions of this story, Cyrus sought control over a singular aspect of reality. In Diamond, it was Dialga, Master of Time. In Pearl, it was Palkia, Weaver of Space. But in Pokémon Platinum, Cyrus's ambition grows even larger. He refuses to settle for dominion over half the equation. Here he seeks both Dialga and Palkia. At the Spear Pillar, he orchestrates a simultaneous summoning, binding both of them tightly with the red chain. He intends to write the complete laws for a new universe, not a fractured one. He wants absolute say over when and where everything exists. But this gambit comes with a terrifying consequence that even the ultimate weapon of the red chain cannot fully contain. The simultaneous summoning threatens a catastrophic collision of time and space. The very pillars of reality grind against each other at the summit. The mountain becomes a tearing wound in the world, a place where the concepts of before and after, or here and there, cease to function independently. The sky shatters, gravity fails. Standing within this maelstrom of his own making, Cyrus believes he has finally surpassed every limit imposed by the old universe. He looks upon the chaos and sees only a necessary byproduct, the birthing pains of his perfect silent order. He has bent the gods of time and space to his will. He thinks he has accounted for every variable in the equation of creation. He has accounted for time. He has accounted for space. But he has not accounted for what happens when the binding of those two forces creates a dimensional shear so severe that it screams through the fabric of everything. Instead, his attempt to command creation calls the attention of a power that belongs outside his control. Giratina, the being of the Distortion World. This is the entity that was cast out for its violence during the original act of creation. It is the third member of the creation trio, the shadow cast by Dialga and Palkia. It exists in the voids between moments, in the space that does not exist. By forcing the two lords of creation into an unnatural and violent harmony, Cyrus has created a resonance that trips a cosmic alarm. The ground beneath Spear Pillar does not just break, it opens into an abyss of pure antimatter. A shadow falls across the Spear Pillar, and Giratina tears through reality to confront the force that is damaging its territory. This moment is the fulcrum of the entire Platinum narrative. The Red Chain, a device specifically designed to shackle the Lords of Time and Space, proves utterly useless against Giratina. It does not operate within the same dimensional framework. It is not a creature of time or space. It is the embodiment of the very chaos Cyrus despises, the rule of disorder that governs the space between rules. It is the haunting, impossible shape that dwells in the corners of reality. Cyrus's fatal flaw is his inability to see that will alone cannot impose order on a system that contains chaos as a fundamental rule. He tried to cure the universe of its imperfection, but he missed the fact that the spirit he loathes and the chaos of the Distortion World are deeply, inextricably linked. The summoning does not simply fail to create a new universe. It actively invites the dissolution of the current one into a space where Cyrus has no authority. He can command Dialga to stop time and Palkia to warp space, but he cannot command a being that exists outside those definitions. It does not recognize his authority, because his authority was built on a premise that Giratina does not acknowledge. The Platinum Climax is not just a battle for control of creation, it is a forced reckoning with the truth that Cyrus was only ever looking at half the picture. He thought, if he could command the clock and the map, he could command the house. But the house was already haunted by a presence in the basement that existed before the walls were even built, and that presence is now very interested in him. Cyrus sought a world without spirit, a world of pure logic and absolute dimension. In his hubris, he tore open a window directly into that world. The Distortion World is not a prison in the traditional sense. It is the living, breathing embodiment of his own philosophy. A place where up is down, where the land folds in on itself, like origami, where no spirit dwells except the raw, authoritative presence of Giratina. It is the cold, silent, brutal order he claimed to desire, stripped of time and space, but completely devoid of any will other than its own. And the moment he is drawn into it, the ultimate irony becomes terrifyingly clear. He has achieved his perfect world, and he's utterly terrified by it. This realm of shadow and impossible geometry, this anti-universe has no place for a human architect who still clings to a shred of individual sentience. The story now turns fully away from the familiar landscapes of Sinnoh. It descends into that absolute unknown, a dimensional prison constructed from the very ideals Cyrus championed against the world of spirit. The creature of chaos has taken the architect of order to a place where his rules do not apply, and there, in the silent void of his own making, the final confrontation is not about power, it is about survival, against a reality that wants nothing more than to absorb him completely. The Platinum Escalation changes everything. Cyrus, standing at the summit of Mount Coronet, attempts to seize control of both Dialga and Palkia simultaneously. This dual summoning does not simply create power, it creates a rupture in the very fabric of reality. It is an act of extreme cosmic abuse, a twisting of forces that were never meant to be controlled, and this abuse does not go unnoticed. A third presence stirs, a force that operates in the spaces between spaces, the shadows that logic cannot dispel. Giratina emerges from the shadows of the Distortion World. It is drawn not by ambition, not by the call of a red chain, but by the sheer offense of the cosmic balance being shattered, associated with dimensions, chaos and death. Giratina is the ancient third of the creation trio, the one banished for its violent nature. It becomes the force Cyrus failed to account for. In his grand equations, he calculated for time and space. He did not calculate for the antimatter, for the chaos that resents the rigidity of order, for the death that follows life. Giratina is that miscalculation given form. The controlled order Cyrus seeks gives way immediately. The pristine, sterile reality he envisions is interrupted by a realm where his usual certainty means nothing. Gravity reverses. Geography is an insult to logic. The laws of physics are merely suggestions in the Distortion World. For the first time, the man who wants to remake reality is dragged into a reality beyond his design. His cold frustration is palpable. He cannot compute this variable. His entire philosophy is built on the idea that the universe is a machine that can be repaired. But Giratina represents the parts of the machine that actively fight being fixed. It represents the primordial chaos that predates order itself. In the canon of the games, this event is most fully realized in the events of Pokémon Platinum. The summoning of both Dialga and Palkia destabilizes Spear Pillar. The sky rents open. The fabric of the cosmos tears. And from that tear, Giratina descends. The red chain, the object meant to bind the deities, proves useless here. You cannot bind chaos with a chain. You cannot control death with a command. Cyrus is forced to retreat, to follow Giratina into its own domain. This is a rare moment of true vulnerability for him. Not the vulnerability of emotion, but the vulnerability of a system encountering a flaw it cannot debug. He has no plan for this. Giratina is often described as the deity of dimensions, chaos and death. These are not comfortable concepts. They are the shadows of the light Dialga and Palkia represent, where Dialga is linear progression and Palkia is structured expansion. Giratina is the distorted reflection, the broken mirror. It represents the entropy that exists in every system. Cyrus, who despises the incompleteness of spirit, finds himself facing a being utterly devoid of spirit in the traditional sense, yet completely chaotic in its essence. The Distortion World is not a prison for Giratina, it is a canvas, and within it Cyrus is not the artist, he is just another brushstroke. The Distortion World itself is a physical argument against his philosophy. It features floating islands, reversed waterfalls, a perpetual twilight. There is no ground that does not shift. There is no light that does not cast a shadow in the wrong direction. It is the opposite of everything Cyrus dreams of. He does not enter it as a ruler. He enters it as a trespasser. The player character follows, and together they navigate a space that was never meant to be navigated by human will. Cyrus's certainty, the cold foundation of his entire identity, begins to crack. The intervention of Giratina is the turning point. It is the moment the perfect blueprint crumbles. The red chain snaps. The connection to Dialga and Palkia is severed. Cyrus is left standing in a broken space, his dream shattered not by a hero's resolve, but by the very fabric of existence refusing to be woven into his pattern. The creator deities are free, the Distortion World pulses, and the leader of Team Galactic is left to contemplate a failure so complete it redefines his entire purpose. For a man who believes in nothing, losing everything is a surprisingly empty victory for the forces of chaos. The emergence of Giratina at the Spear Pillar was not simply an interruption to Cyrus's ritual. It was an indictment, a verdict delivered from a dimension that operates entirely outside the jurisdiction of his plans. When the space behind Dialga and Palkia split open, and the reverse world bled into the summit of Mount Coronet, Cyrus was not just facing a new Pokémon, he was facing the living proof that his entire philosophy was a lie dressed in the language of logic. The Distortion World overturns every assumption Cyrus holds about order and logic. This is the core of what happens when he steps through that portal. He grew up in Sunnyshore's City, learning from machines. A machine is predictable. A machine follows its programming. A machine has no emotion, no will, no messy spirit to get in the way of its function. For Cyrus, this was the ultimate beauty, a universe designed as a perfect silent clock. But the Distortion World is not a clock, it is a living chaos. It has no interest in efficiency, it has no respect for hierarchy. Every step he takes, every platform that floats upside down, every river that runs into the sky is a refutation of his core belief that order must be rigid to be pure. Gravity shifts here, landscapes hang upside down, and familiar rules lose their authority. There is no ground in the way Cyrus understands ground. There is no horizon in the conventional sense. Up and down become suggestions, not commands. The very physics of this world is a direct assault on the idea of absolute control. Cyrus wanted a universe he could stand on firm ground and command. The Distortion World has no firm ground. It will not kneel for him. It does not even acknowledge the posture of kneeling. To exist here is to be in a state of constant uncertainty, which is the one state Cyrus cannot tolerate. For a man who built his entire life on the certainty of a clockwork universe, this is not just a change of scenery, it is a philosophical death sentence. It is crucial to understand that the Distortion World is not a world without meaning. It is a world that refuses to be simplified. This is the nuance that destroys Cyrus. He sees complexity as a flaw. He sees the emotional core of Pokémon and people as an error in the code of existence. He wants to delete the error. But what he is standing in is an entire dimension built from complexity. It is the home of Giratina, the deity cast out from the standard universe precisely because it represents the aspects of reality that cannot be cleaned up, packaged and filed away. Giratina is not chaos for the sake of chaos. Giratina is the guardian of the messy truth that existence cannot be reduced to a single note. The Distortion World has its own logic. It is just a logic that refuses to be written down in a straight line. In this moment, standing in the heart of a reality that bends and breaks his expectations, Cyrus confronts the possibility that existence cannot be purified into the cold perfection he imagined. The dream of a universe without spirit was always a fantasy, and the Distortion World proves this. Spirit is not a bug in the system. It is the system's fundamental programming language. You cannot separate the world from its spirit without breaking the world entirely, and the Distortion World is what happens to the broken pieces. It is not the new universe Cyrus wanted. It is the shadow cast by the universe he is trying to destroy. The towers of stone that float in the sky are the remnants of what reality looks like when you strip away the warmth. It is functional, it is cold, and it is exactly what he asked for. He just never expected to have to stand inside it. Cyrus walks through this realm, and every step takes him further from certainty. He sees the ruins of things that predate human understanding. He feels the weight of a dimension that has no care for his ambition. He brought the red chain here, but the chain is useless. The Lake Trio's power is the blood of this world. You cannot bleed a corpse that is already everywhere. The chain was meant to bind the creators of the universe. But the Distortion World is not the creation of Dialga or Palkia. It is the space between their territories, a no man's land of reality, and no man's land has no king. The player navigates this inverted space, and the act of traversal is itself a statement. You do not conquer the Distortion World. You move through it. You adapt to its rules. You solve its riddles by accepting its logic, not by imposing your own. The puzzles are not arbitrary. They are lessons. The Distortion World is teaching you its language. Walk on the wall. Cross the bridge that bends backward. Let go of your rigid grip on reality. Cyrus refuses to learn. He demands the world speak his language. He stands at the heart of the dimension and rages against it. He tries to command Giratina. He tries to use the red chain. The Distortion World does not recognize the authority of a chain made from the spirits it already contains. It is immune to his tools because his tools are built from the very essence he denies. The Distortion World in the games is rendered a sickly green and purple palette, a world out of phase. Mirrors open where doors should be. You walk on the ceiling of a forgotten space. It is not scary in the way a haunted house is scary. It is scary in the way a perfectly clean room with no windows is scary. It is alien. It is the shape of a universe that has no need for humans. Cyrus sees this, and he loves it, but he loves it for the wrong reasons. He sees a blank slate. He sees a world stripped of the baggage of Sinnoh. He fails to realize that the Distortion World has already been stripped, and what is left is not silence. It is the raw, screaming truth of existence. There is a reason the Distortion World is named that way. It is not a world of pure disorder. It is a world where the framework has been twisted, spirals instead of straight lines, curves instead of corners. It is not a negation of reality. It is a different variant of it, a parallel truth. Cyrus's great tragedy is that he was so close to understanding something profound. He saw that the universe was messy. He saw that spirit made things complicated. But instead of accepting that complexity as part of the beauty of existence, he saw it as a cancer to be cut out. The Distortion World is the body after the cancer has been removed. It is hollow. It is strange. It is functional, but it has no warmth. And yet, even in this hollow place, there is meaning. The meaning is in the survival. The meaning is in the paradox. The Distortion World exists, and that is enough. It does not need to justify itself. Giratina does not need to explain its purpose. It simply is. When the battle ends, and Cyrus is dragged back to Spear Pillar, or when the portal closes behind the player, the Distortion World remains. It does not close because the story is over. It waits in the space between spaces. It waits for the next person who tries to deny the complexity of existence. It waits for the next attempt to draw a straight line through a universe that is beautifully, stubbornly, inevitably curved. And it reminds us quietly that no amount of logic can untangle the knot of being. The knot is not a mistake. It is the structure of the world. Spirit, will, emotion, knowledge. These are not the things that break the universe. They are the things that hold it together. The Distortion World does not break Cyrus. It confirms every suspicion he held about the universe he wanted to replace. He experiences a dimension without order, without the rules he dedicated his life to imposing, and instead of finding humility, he finds only a deeper certainty that existence itself is a mistake. The chaos of that space, the way it rejects logic and bends to will, alone does not make him question his philosophy. It makes him certain that the world must be erased. He emerges from that confrontation, or is pulled from it by forces he cannot control, and he carries that certainty directly into his final confrontation. After his defeat, Cyrus does not offer a simple apology or abandon his philosophy. Standing on the ruined platform of Spear Pillar, as the legendary Pokémon return to their dimensions and the red chain scatters into inert dust, he faces the player not with regret, but with explanation. He behaves as a lecturer might address a student who has failed to understand the assignment. His will was absolute. His logic was flawless. The failure belongs not to him, but to the material he was forced to work with. He remains convinced that the world is incomplete, even as his plan collapses around him. The collapse itself is evidence of the flaw he has always seen. Spirit, the unbiddable, irrational force of connection and emotion. It is not that his equations were wrong, it is that the universe refused to obey them. This is the heart of his tragedy. His failure comes not from a lack of intelligence, but from his refusal to value anything he cannot control. Cyrus is a genius. His understanding of ancient law, of dimensional physics, of the mechanisms that hold reality together is unmatched. He could command the loyalty of scientists, manipulate the ambitions of commanders, and find the hidden threads that connected the modern Sinnoh region to the ancient history of. But intelligence without the willingness to value what it cannot reduce to a formula is a kind of profound blindness. He could summon Dialga, he could bind Palkia, he could calculate the energies required to distort space-time itself. He could not calculate the value of a single bond between a trainer and their Pokémon. He could not predict the quiet loyalty of a creature that chose to stay. And because he could not predict it, he refused to respect it. The player defeats a man who tried to become a god because he could not accept being human, the fragility of his own body, the unpredictability of his own emotions, the fact that he needed others and could not fully control them. These were wounds he carried from childhood. He was a brilliant student who preferred machines to people, who found comfort in systems rather than relationships. And as an adult, he decided that the universe itself was the problem. Instead of learning to live with incompleteness, he chose to unmake the concept of incompleteness entirely. He would become the sole consciousness in a new universe, a sterile creation where nothing could defy him because nothing would exist outside his own mind. But a god who rejects all of creation is simply alone, and a man who cannot accept the conditions of his own existence cannot build a better world for anyone else. In the silence that follows the battle, Cyrus simply departs. In the events of Diamond and Pearl, he walks away without a word, disappearing into the landscape of Sinnoh, his fate left open, but his philosophy unchanged. In the events of Platinum, he turns his back on the world entirely, entering the Distortion World he could not conquer and allowing the void to swallow him. He does not offer a final plea. He does not break down. He simply refuses to participate in a reality that will not conform to his design. His absence, however, leaves a vacuum that the world must fill. The structure of Team Galactic was built entirely around the gravity of his will. Without that gravity, the organization has no center. The commanders stand in the empty halls of their headquarters, holding the remnants of an ambition they never fully understood. The machines, the research, the stolen Pokémon, the ideology itself. None of it makes sense without the singular mind that gave it purpose. And so the question that follows the defeat of Cyrus is not whether his vision will survive, but whether the people who followed him can find their way out of the shadow he left behind. Cyrus refuses to apologize. His defeat at the summit of Mount Coronet, the collapse of his universe-altering ritual, does nothing to shake his belief that the world is fundamentally incomplete. His legendary Pokémon have been freed. His command over the fabric of reality has been shattered by the combined effort of the player, the Lake Trio, and in the Platinum version, the direct intervention of Giratina itself from the depths of its own dimension. And yet he does not rage. He does not negotiate. He does not try to explain his philosophy to those who remain. He simply fades from the mountain, from Sinnoh, from the story of Team Galactic entirely. His defeat teaches him nothing about the value of emotion or spirit. He remains as cold and certain in his logic as the day he began his plan. And in his wake, the organization he constructed with such precise and deliberate care falls apart with almost no resistance at all. With Cyrus gone, most of Team Galactic vanishes from Sinnoh just as quickly as it rose. You can see the dissolution spreading across the region. The grunts who once patrolled routes and guarded buildings simply walk away. They take off their uniforms, stuffing them into dumpsters or leaving them in empty lockers. It is a strange and complete evaporation. There is no final battle at the headquarters, no last stand against justice. The syndicate that commandeered the Valley Windworks, that kidnapped Pokémon from the lakes, that infiltrated a major city and operated under the noses of the Sinnoh police force, simply dissolves into the background. The energy that sustained the entire operation disappears completely because the engine that powered it has been switched off. The organization had been held together by secrecy, fear, and one man's overwhelming will. This is the truth laid bare by the collapse. Team Galactic was never a movement in the way of the older teams. It was never a fellowship of shared ideals or a brotherhood of criminals. It was a machine of absolute compliance. Cyrus demanded obedience to a plan, not loyalty to a cause. There were no backup protocols for a scenario where the leader failed or disappeared. The chain of command was a straight line to Cyrus, and when that line was cut, the commanders were left stranded in a sudden and complete power vacuum, with no instructions and no guidance for what came next. In Veilstone City, Only a small group of members remains to face the consequences. You can feel the silence pressing against the walls inside the massive Galactic headquarters. The lights are still on, but the energy is gone. The hallways that once echoed with the footsteps of researchers and armed guards are now quiet. This is the quiet heart of the aftermath. The building, once a temple to progress and control, now sits as an empty shell. The scientists funded by stolen energy and resources have fled. The security systems hum with no one to guard against. Saturn, the first commander, is left standing in the main lobby. He was the one who led the assault on Lake Verity. He followed orders on Spear Pillar, unaware of the full scope of his leader's plan to destroy existence itself. And now he is the one left to decide what happens to the ruins of the entire organization. Their survival raises a difficult question. Can a movement built on deception become something better? Saturn has to find an answer to this. Standing in the middle of the wreckage he once helped build, he decides in this subdued and fragile moment that the answer must be yes. Not because it is simple, not because it is guaranteed, but because the alternative is to let Cyrus's nihilism claim a final victory over the future of everyone who was left behind. He does not try to rewrite history. He does not claim the team was misunderstood. He faces the ruins of what he helped build openly. He tries to turn the Galactic Building into a research institute focused on legitimate energy science and the betterment of Sinnoh. He tries to redirect the technology developed for the Red Chain, the tool used to shackle the gods of time and space, towards something that benefits the region rather than threatening it. This is a strange and difficult redemption. Charon, the true architect of the Red Chain, and the only member with the deepest scientific understanding of the project, offers no resistance at all when Interpol agent Looker arrives to take him into custody. He has no Pokémon to defend himself with, and no stomach for a fight that is already lost. His knowledge is sealed away in the custody of the League, but the secrets of the Red Chain cannot be truly erased from the universe. They exist now as a dangerous possibility. Mars and Jupiter, the other two commanders, fade into the background of Sinnoh. Their exact fates are left unwritten. Their stories concluded silently in the spaces between events. Saturn's attempt at reform is the final chapter of Team Galactic's direct influence on the region. It is a quiet, subdued epilogue to a plan of cosmic scale. You realize, standing in that empty lobby, how deeply the ambition had reached, and how far the fall truly was. The team that tried to tear down the universe and rebuild it in the image of pure logic is finally reduced to a single man in a mostly empty building, trying to decide who he wants to become. The building itself is a monument to a failed ideology. It was constructed on a foundation of stolen resources and manipulated people. The very walls were paid for by the fear they spread. Can a structure built on lies ever stand for truth? This question hangs in the air over the final moments of the Galactic story. Saturn opens the doors to the public, but the building is still stained by its past. The machinery inside was built for control. The space itself was designed by Cyrus. Every corner of the headquarters reflects a philosophy that was fundamentally opposed to the very things he is now trying to protect. The shadow of that philosophy, the ghost of Cyrus's logic, clings to the walls. It is a heavy burden for such a fragile new beginning. Whether Saturn can truly carry it, or whether the weight of what Team Galactic was will eventually crush what he is trying to make it become, remains the most haunting and unresolved question of the entire aftermath. The building stands in the heart of Veilstone City, a quiet monument to ambition and collapse, a silent laboratory for a hope that has not yet earned its name, waiting to see if something genuine can grow from the ashes of a grand and terrible lie. The vacuum left by Cyrus was absolute. An organization built on fear, secrecy, and the overwhelming will of one man does not easily adapt when that will is removed. It shatters, and in the silence that followed the collapse of the Spear Pillar ritual, most of Team Galactic vanished as quickly as it had risen. Grunts shed their uniforms and melted back into the cities of Sinnoh. The higher ranks scattered, fleeing the weight of what they had almost helped accomplish. But not everyone left. Saturn stayed. He took responsibility for the broken pieces that remained. He looked at the ruin of Cyrus's ambition, at the cosmic scars left on reality, and he made a conscious choice. He explicitly rejected the extremism of his former leader. The dream of a new universe, a world stripped of spirit and emotion and will, was not a path he would follow. There would be no more attempts to rewrite existence. Instead, Saturn attempted to rebuild Team Galactic from the ground up, not as a weapon of destruction, but as a legitimate research organization. The clean energy studies that once served as a public cover became their actual mission. The headquarters in Veilstone City transformed slowly into a place of genuine science, a quiet reformation, far from the grand ambitions of the past, but a necessary one. Before that reformation could truly take hold, one final thread needed to be tied. Charon, the scientist whose red chain had made the entire ritual possible, was still at large. He was the architect of the device that had shackled Dialga and Palkia, the technical mind behind the greatest violation of cosmic law the Sinnoh region had ever seen. The Interpol agent Looker tracked him down, and Charon, faced with the consequences of his work, offered no resistance. He owned no Pokémon. He put up no fight. He simply surrendered, accepting the end of his chapter with a silence that felt heavier than any last stand. His arrest was quiet, anticlimactic, a stark contrast to the chaos his intellect had helped unleash upon the world. This leaves Team Galactic with a very specific legacy, not a legacy of power or wealth or conquest. Its final mark on history is a warning carved into the very fabric of Sinnoh's story. Progress, when pursued without compassion, can turn even a dream of the stars into a nightmare. Cyrus saw the world as incomplete. He saw spirit as a flaw. He saw knowledge, emotion, and will as weaknesses to be erased in favor of a cold, perfect logic. But in his quest to perfect the universe, he nearly destroyed it. Saturn's different future is the counterpoint to that philosophy, a quiet act of atonement, a choice to take everything that remained and point it toward the service of life, rather than its annihilation. And so the building in Veilstone City still stands. The logo remains on the doors. The lab equipment hums quietly behind closed doors. The lake trio swim freely once more in their sacred waters, the crystals of the red chain broken and gone. Cyrus remains in the Distortion World, a ghost in the realm he sought to command, a prisoner of the chaos he tried to erase. The threat is over. What remains is the weight of the warning and the quiet, persistent effort of a man trying to build a different future from the ashes of a dream that went terribly wrong. That is the true end of Team Galactic's story, not a triumphant defeat of evil, and not a simple return to normal. Sinnoh survives, but it is changed by what happened at Spear Pillar. Its people have seen the sky tear open. They have watched ancient legends become living forces. They have learned that the balance of time, space, and spirit is not an abstract idea preserved in old myths. It is fragile. It depends on choices made by people who may never fully understand the power they hold. And perhaps that is why the aftermath matters as much as the battle itself. Defeating Cyrus stopped a catastrophe, but Saturn's decision to change gave the survivors of Team Galactic a chance to become something other than the remnants of a cult. It proved that even an organization built around a terrible purpose can be redirected, if someone inside it is willing to confront the truth. Cyrus wanted a universe without human weakness, but weakness was never the problem. Grief, hope, love, fear, and doubt are what give people the ability to choose. They are what make cruelty possible, but they are also what make redemption possible. Without them, there is no compassion, no courage, no reason to save a world at all. Team Galactic reached for the power of gods and found only the consequences of its own emptiness. In the end, its greatest lesson was not about science, destiny, or cosmic power. It was about responsibility, because the future is not made perfect by erasing the people within it. It is made better by giving them something worth protecting.